Pirate's Most Powerful Villain, Chapter 401-420. Chapter 0401-Dream Tea Party. Emperor Qin, you said the fourth Scarlet Stone has been found. When? Where? Kaido and Big Mom followed in the footsteps of Qin Yang. The moment the Gorosei, 5 elders opened the national treasure, Qin Yang walked slowly. In the depths of the dark earth, there was a pothole. In the entire Holy Land, only this place was not destroyed, which was specially reserved by Qin Yang. In response to this, Big Mom opened his mouth isho, spitting out corrosive saliva. I don't care about this, just give my mother a rubbing. Don't worry, it will be given to you. Qin Yang glanced at her and just answered lightly. At this moment, a loud shout came from behind the three, followed by a series of footsteps. Wait. This, Qin Yang looked sideways and saw Akainu and other marine generals chasing after him. Do you still want to continue? Qin Yang raised his eyebrows slightly and said, I don't mind sending you to see Gorosei, 5 elders. HMPH, since the rotten upper layers have been destroyed by you, I will not continue to protect them, nor will I protect the world government that has perished. Akainu snorted coldly. Considering Emperor Qin's strength, he immediately gritted his teeth and said, Emperor Qin, what do you plan to do with Marine after erasing the world government? What are you going to do next? He had to stand up and ask these questions. It's not necessary to fight, the key is that Marine is incapable of dealing with these murderers. Since they can't beat it, they can only pray for peace. However, their Marine is a subordinate organization of the world government. Now that the world government is dead, Rao is Akainu, and also feels a bit confused. About how to deal with you there will be someone special to explain to you later. Of course, you are disbanding on the spot now, and I don't bother to pursue it. Qin Yang glanced at him and ignored it. Not long ago, he agreed to Sengoku to join Dream, just for this day. However, put these aside first, and get the most important 4th red stone first. Immediately, Qin Yang took Kaido and the two to look for the target. 3 of them walk away. Akainu's face was extremely ugly. Although this attitude of being naked and not taking their marine seriously was irritating, it was also a bit of a blessing. What should we do, Marshal? Momonga Vice Admiral said solemnly. He doesn't care about us now, maybe he will settle accounts later in the autumn. He didn't mean to kill. Fujitora shook his head and said, if there is killing intent, we won't have a chance to stand here. However, such talk of disbanding on the spot is not worth believing. If we are fleeing now, a dream will definitely come after us. G. Sean. Hearing this, Akainu nodded heavily. Follow his arrangement first, and wait for the contact person for the time being. People are knives and I am fish. Akainu felt sad and angry in his heart. He, the marshal, had only been sitting for 3 months before facing such a desperate situation. Not to mention Marine's thoughts, Qin Yang doesn't care. What he cares most about is the 4th red stone. The main purpose of this operation is this thing, destroying the world government, that is to do it by the way. A quarter of an hour later, the 3 of Qin Yang walked to the center of the pitch-black earth. There, black soil covers a stone, a red square stone. Sure enough, it's the red stone. Big Mom's eyes lit up, and he immediately got close, blowing away the black soil on the surface of the steel, and immediately, the historical text recorded on the steel was exposed to the air. It seems that my intelligence is correct, and it is in the hands of the government. Kaido grinned isho, but asked, however, how do you know that it is here? In this regard, Qin Yang was too lazy to answer. He was not interested in telling the other party that the shadow demon almost turned around the core area of the Holy Land in order to find this thing, and finally found a trace because of the appearance of King Tenryubito. 3 rubbings. Qin Yang instructed. Now that the 4 red stones have been collected, you can go to find Lahoodle, feel free to do so. You didn't stop you. Charlotte Linlin narrowed her eyes. You put all your effort into putting away the 4 stones, do you want to give up the big secret treasure? She was afraid that Qinyang would suddenly go back and kill people. To be honest, she was really afraid of this. To cooperate with Mengmeng was to seek skin from a tiger. Don't worry, I'll keep my word. Qinyang put away a rubbing and waved it with his hand. Immediately, the black earth raised countless dust and buried the stone again. This cooperation has ended. Where did you come from and where are you going? After he finished speaking, he moved and disappeared directly into an illusory shadow. Seeing this, Kaido and Charlotte Linlin looked at each other, and then both snorted coldly. My mother doesn't believe it. He will let us go to find Lahoodle. Ah, vomit, the big secret treasure is right in front of you, why don't you feel moved? Kaido grinned, put away the rubbings, and walked away. Of course, if you're interested in working with me, we can act together. Really? He cooperate with you, a lunatic, only if my mother is sick. Since we can't trust each other, let's make an agreement. Kaido took a step and turned back. Before finding Lahoodle, our two forces will coexist peacefully for the time being. Good. After a moment of silence, Charlotte Linlin agreed immediately. While the two of them were splitting the spoils, Doflamingo, the Dream's #1 puppy, was dealing with the aftermath. Tenryubito fleeing, hundreds of them at least, but they couldn't escape the range of the bird cage, and it was only a matter of time before they were killed. More, among Tenryubito, there are 393 dreamy, inner response. In addition, in the 148 countries, there are many kings with extremely bad luck who were affected by this war and died, but there are also many who escaped the disaster. Qinyang did not embarrass them and let them go directly. And with the departure of this group of people, the news of the Holy Land War quickly spread. 2 days later, a piece of news shocked the world. The world government that ruled the world for 800 years was slaughtered in one day. The descendants of the creator, the entire Tenryubito family died, and the entire Mariajoy was wiped off the map. This shocking battle shocked the world. The hands-on people include Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom, and the Dream Emperor Qin. With such a terrifying multi-party alliance, the world government cannot escape the fate of annihilation. Just when countless people were shocked by this news, a news from the original Holy Land once again stirred the whole world. After January, Dream will hold a tea party and invite all kingdoms in the world to participate. For the king who is not present, Dream will regard it as a hostile and provocative act, and give the punishment of genocide. This tea party meeting will be held tentatively at Sabayati Archipelago. At the same time, the tea party will share the historical text of the four roots and inform the world. All major forces are welcome to participate. As soon as this announcement came out, the world was in an uproar. Chapter 0402_Red Hair Visiting. Fantastic, tea party. This group of people destroyed the world government, immediately held a tea party, and invited countries from all over the world. What do you mean? Of course it's to intimidate the world. Otherwise, what else did they want to do? However, what is the purpose of sharing the four historical texts of the root? Numerous suspicions are circulating, and all major countries are in shock. To go, or not to go? Most of the kings only considered this question for a few minutes before making an immediate decision. If you don't go, you can't do it. Dream clearly warns that if you don't go, you will destroy the country. No, to be precise, it is the extermination of the family, the extermination of the king's family. One dares to ignore such a blatant threat when the world government has become a corpse. Fortunately, because of the World Conference, the kings of most kingdoms did not have time to return to their own countries. When they heard the news of the tea party, they immediately went to Sabayati Archipelago. Even among them, there are many kings of powerful countries, and their hearts are alive. The dream of this tea party is to establish a new order and to share the corpses of the world government. We need to get in touch with them as soon as possible and maybe get a share of the pie. Not to mention the reactions of the kings of all parties. When they learned the news, countless pirates were also very excited. Dream wants to share four historical texts, which is related to the great secret treasure, enough to make countless people greedy. However, a few veteran pirates also clearly remember that a similar thing happened in the Cake Island War 10 years ago. The dreamy master of the sky used the red stone as bait to suppress hundreds of pirate groups at one time. Do you want to repeat the old tricks when sharing the 4 historical texts of the route this time? Of course, the most annoying are Kaido and Big Mom. Their 2 forces, in cooperation with Dream, have finally collected 4 rubbings and are about to find Lahoodle, but Dream is about to share it with the world. Emperor Chin, what is this person trying to do? On the way back to the Cake Island, Big Mom gritted his teeth and said, I haven't even started to take action here, so he wants to reveal the map to the outside world. Beside her, Li Jiet pondered for a moment, guessing, they have eliminated the world government now, they want to control the world power. I am afraid that the map is just a bait, maybe. Maybe what? Charlotte Linlin thought about it and came to a conclusion that she wanted to solve all troubles at once. Whether it is underworld or white, a tea party will solve all troubles. He, Charlotte Linlin grinned Isho, if it were that simple, it would be great. We don't care about him, we must find Lahoodle as soon as possible, before Kaido. Yes, Mother. Marine Headquarters, Marineford. Marine's generals, including Marshal Akainu, gathered in a large conference room. At this moment, the expressions of all the generals were very complicated, and they looked at the men sitting opposite each other, silent. Akainu took a deep breath and said, I didn't expect that we would meet under such circumstances. Marshal Sengoku. I am no longer a marshal. Sengoku also had a complicated expression, I don't have the right to know about the dream action. I know that when the government perished and the Holy Land was wiped out, it was Doflamingo who informed me of the aftermath. Enough. Akainu snorted coldly, and said, now you say these are meaningless. This time you are here on behalf of the dream, what are you going to say? How will we get along next? Hearing this, Sengoku sighed and was speechless for a moment. He felt that he was being kept in the dark, that he knew nothing, and by the time he knew, everything had already happened. In Mysteria, he handled the daily affairs for the dream, the core strength of the dream, but he had already united with Kaido and other 3-4 emperors to launch a war of annihilation against the Holy Land, and it was completed in a short time. Thinking of this, he quickly regained his composure. After all, he has experienced strong winds and waves, and his inner endurance has become much stronger. Akainu, the Dream Emperor Chin personally talked to me, and let me come to Marine Headquarters to discuss with you. Negotiation. Akainu said blankly, you don't need to give face like this. This situation is not so much a negotiation as it is a final judgment. That should be the judgment. Sengoku shook his head and said solemnly, before I tell you the results, let me explain one thing. At the tea party in a month's time, Dream will form a new world government, and of course the name will change. What is the exact name? I don't know now. Quote. Pause, he added, as for Marine, you can keep it as it is. What? Akainu frowned. Intact. Sengoku, what does dream mean? I don't know. Sengoku shook his head, but, having said that, he could still guess a little bit in his heart. Emperor Chin obviously wanted to use him to control Marine, and with his past reputation, he could indeed do it. Of course, more importantly, to Dream, Marine's power is irrelevant, and if he is disobedient, he can be beaten to death at any time. 1 month from now, you will also have to attend the tea party. At the end, Sengoku said again, at that time, it will be the time when the new order will be established, and I am afraid there will be another major event. After he finished speaking, he said no more. At the same time, the new world, the Kingdom of Mysteria. Fantasy Branch, in a hall. Nico Robin looked at the 4 copies of the red stone rubbing in her hand and remained silent. How? Chin Yang asked softly, sitting sideways. Lord Chin, there is no problem with the rubbing. The 4 islands are marked separately. After connecting them 2 by 2, you can indeed find a point on the map. While speaking, Robin took out the map and pen, drew a few circles, connected a few lines, and finally found a point. That's it. Qin Yang took a look, but couldn't help but raised his eyebrows. Doflamingo immediately said, For strange place, that sea area, there are no islands at all. Are you sure? In this regard, Robin thought about it and said helplessly, the location marked by the red stone is here. Is it an island invisible to the naked eye? Doflamingo said speculatively. This is very likely, after all, it is the island of legends. He. Qin Yang chuckled lightly, raised his eyebrows suddenly, and said, Doflamingo, someone will answer this question right away. Go and greet it. As soon as the voice fell, a cadre came in and said respectfully, the person Qin Emperor loves, Lord Doflamingo, Lord Robin, the 4 emperors, red-haired pirate ship, is in the waters of Mysteria. We're in port. Redhead. Doflamingo Vivi was surprised, and then smiled strangely. For this guy is Roger's crew, he has been to Lahoodle, he should know everything. With that said, he immediately took action. It didn't take long for the red hair to bring his crew to Qin Yang. Looking at Qin Yang's young face, the redhead smiled and said abruptly. Qin Di, what do you think Lahoodle will have? Huh. The redhead whispered. That island, maybe there is nothing. If you have been there once, you will not be interested in it. I can tell you clearly that the island, even if you know the location, generally method, and it is difficult to land. It is a living island. Chapter 0403, King of Heaven, Uranus. That island, even if you know the location, it's difficult to land in the usual way. It's a living island. The red hair whispered, as if recalling the scene more than 20 years ago. At that time, he was just a small trainee crew, a completely unremarkable existence on the ship of One Piece King of Pirates Roger. However, even so, he still followed in the footsteps of the Roger pirates and successfully set foot on Lahoodle. Hearing this, Qin Yang raised his eyebrows. What did you see on the island? I didn't see anything. The moment we landed on the island, we heard a melodious voice that sounded like the soul was singing, and then I passed out, red-haired Isho, self-deprecating. How did you find that island? How did you land? Qin Yang asked again. About this, you can see it for yourself. The redhead shook his head, obviously not intending to say it directly. I came to you this time, not to tell you this. He did see Lahoodle, but he didn't see it all. All he could see was a deserted and uninhabited island. The one who really knows everything is Roger, the one who listens to the voice of all things, and what he sees and hears is completely different from those 557 of them. Seriously, maybe Rayleigh knows that too. Thinking of this, the red hair restrained his expression, put on a dignified look, and said in a deep voice, Qin Emperor, I came to you this time, and I want to confirm one thing with you first. Tell me, for the sake of your helping Ibaraki in the past. Qin Yang was there. You destroyed the world government, you should have seen the national treasure. That's right. That's right, a poor man who gained eternal life, but his soul was broken because he lived too long. The so-called king of Tenryubito cannot escape the fate of perishing in the face of time. Qin Yang spoke calmly. Immortality surgery is indeed powerful, much stronger than the eternal youth of the fruit of life. It is the real immortality of the body. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful the body is, it is difficult to support it without a strong soul. So, the king of Tenryubito became a killing weapon, a national treasure of the world government. After hearing this, the red hair seemed to be thinking about something, nodded and said, So, the national treasure was destroyed by you. Of course. The redhead couldn't help but sighed. Actually, there is still a big secret hidden in the national treasure, which is related to the blank 100 years, and even has a little connection with the devil fruit fanatic. However, since it has been destroyed by you, this secret will also be forever buried in history. Quote. A blank 100 years refers to the present 800 years ago to 900 years ago. I'm not interested in history. Qin Yang said indifferently. Redhead, that's all you want to say. No, I'm just confirming. The redhead shook his head, took a deep breath, and said, now that you have destroyed the government, the next step is to establish a new order. I want to ask you one thing. Say. Don't let the era of the great pirates come to an end. With a sincere tone, the red hair looked directly at Qin Yang and said, the era of the great pirates started by Captain Roger is to inherit Dee's will, the dream of changing generations, and those who pursue freedom, no matter when, there will be no shortage. The meaning of these words, expressed in more direct words, is, you can destroy the world government, but you cannot stop those who seek freedom. He. Qin Yang couldn't help laughing. Redhead, when did you come up with the idea that freedom is equal to a pirate? Pause, he said again. You are worried. I will use the 4 red stones to gather countless pirates and annihilate them in one go. You think too much. Then what do you want to do? The redhead looked puzzled. The moment she heard that Dream was going to share the 4 red stones at the tea party, the red hair felt that Dream was ready to solve all the pirates in one go. After all, the pirates are a big rioter for fantasy to have power in the world. What do I want to do? What if you know it? You can't do anything, let alone stop it. Qin Yang said unceremoniously. If you want to know what will happen in the future, you can go to the Sabayati archipelago and attend the tea party in a month's time, and then everything will be settled. Tea party. The redhead narrowed his eyes, obviously considering whether to go. Qin Yang continued. Fame, power, wealth, status, marine, pirates, dreams, freedom. The old world is broken and the new order is established. We are not interested in mastering the world. What we will do, everything will be done. I'll let you know at the tea party. After he finished speaking, he waved his hand. Doflamingo, see you off. Seeing this, the red hair gave Qin Yang a deep look, and finally turned to leave. Emperor Qin refused to say anything, and he had no choice but to go to the tea party. Now it is the real one, super domineering. As the 4 emperors, the red hair also feels powerless. The world has changed to a hegemon, and everyone has to get used to the new hegemon. As soon as the red hair left, Robin hurriedly handed over the black tea and asked in a low voice, Lord Qin, the tea party is a month away, shall we go to find Lahoodle first? Rahoodle, don't worry, Kaido and Big Mom will be the vanguards anyway. Qin Yang smiled and said, the redhead has made it clear that even if there is a map, you need a special method to log in. Let's watch it on the sidelines and see what Kaido and the others can find. Oh. Robin nodded softly, then I'll have people keep an eye on them. Not to mention Qin Yang's plans, in the new world, a small island floating somewhere. The island is only the size of a football field. It is a very tiny island. Calling it an island is all about it. In the center of this tiny island, there is an experimental base full of technology. Inside the base, on a white platform, Vio, the eye of the sky, slowly opened his eyes. He reached out and touched his left eye, which had become a mechanical eye. As expected of the fruit of transformation, it's amazing. Vio said in amazement, through the mechanical eyes, you can see a lot of incredible things. It's amazing that you can survive. A middle-aged man in a white coat couldn't help but said, I've already thought about how to let you die on the operating table. You have survived the 3 transformations. HMPH, it's not that easy to kill me. Vio snorted coldly, then laughed and said, speaking of which, Dream teamed up with the 3-4 emperors to destroy the world government. There is also a tea party to share 4 pieces of historical text. It's really interesting, why don't you go take a look? It's more than enough time to rush over now. Haven't you Beastmaster pirates been looking for the Scarlet Stone all the time? The person looking for the Red Stone is Beastmaster Ryan, and it has nothing to do with me. I'm just a researcher. Man smiled and said, I am more interested in the ancient weapon, Tianwang, than the Red Stone. The King, Oranos. Vio was stunned. Do you have information about the King of Heaven? What information? The King of Heaven has always existed. Man pointed to the top of his head and chuckled twice. It always exists where you can't see it. However, I do go to Sabayati Archipelago. After all, the red stone is also related to the King of Heaven. Having said this, he paused again, and then whispered to himself, also, the Dreaming Emperor Chin also makes me curious. Chapter 0404 The Discovery of Space-Time Fish. After a little exercise, people are about to fall apart. Time is flying fast, and in the blink of an eye, a week has passed since the Holy Land battle. This week, the news about the demise of the world government has spread more and more widely, no longer limited to well-informed major forces. Even small islands and small villages in remote corners of the world have already known. Above a certain sea area in the first half of the Great Route, a pirate ship is sailing slowly. The boat was flying the Straw Hat Skull flag, and at this moment, Captain Straw Hat Luffy was sitting on the edge of the boat, holding a fishing rod in his hand, fishing board. Behind him, a man in shorts with 3 corners was looking at a new newspaper and shouted in surprise, "When we didn't know it, a major event that shocked the world really happened." "What's wrong?" Nami asked with a smile, looking at a package of going. "The world government is dead." The perverted man in shorts shook his head, but after speaking, the atmosphere suddenly became quiet. After 3 or 5 seconds, Nami, who was still smiling just a moment ago, immediately widened her eyes and said incredulously, "The world government is destroyed, perished." Chopper, Zoro, Usopp and others also stopped their movements one by one and leaned over one after another. "Impossible, how can the world government perish?" "Curl your eyebrows, see for yourself. It's really the headlines in the newspapers. A week ago, the 4 Emperors Whitebeard, the 4 Emperors Big Mom, the former 4 Emperors Kaido, and the Dreamy Chin Emperor joined forces to raid the holy place Mariajoy on the day of the World Conference. After the war, Gorosei, 5 elders are dead, the Holy Land is wiped from the map." After reading this, Sanji couldn't help but take a deep breath. How many forces of the 4 emperors joined forces to attack the Holy Land? If it weren't for this newspaper being a relatively large media organization, he couldn't believe his eyes. 4 emperors. Straw Hat Luffy suddenly turned his head and asked curiously, "What is that?" "Idiot, you don't even know this. It makes you read the news more often." Nami rolled her eyes and said, "The 4 emperors are the New World. The New World is the second half of the Great Route, and the 4 emperors are the 4 pirate forces that rule the New World like an emperor. Rumor has it that any of the 4 pirate groups can rival the Marine headquarters." Hearing this, Straw Hat Luffy was still misunderstood. Seeing this, Zoro calmly added, "The Shanks you know as the red-haired 4 emperors." This time, the Straw Hat understood immediately and said in surprise, "What? Is Shanks going to attack the world government?" "Sure enough, you're an idiot." Nami was speechless. At this moment, Zoro turned around suddenly, his right hand quietly pressing the hilt of the sword. "Who?" Hearing this, everyone was stunned, and then followed their gazes. "I saw in front of the boat sailing, about tens of meters away, a huge sea turtle with a body size of more than 10 meters was slowly parading. On the back of the turtle, there is a high chair, on which sits a quiet woman. The woman is 27 or 8-year-old with a delicate face. She wears a pair of glasses and a single ponytail, sitting there, looking down at the book in her hand quietly. As if aware of the sight of the Straw Hats, the female Vivi raised her head, and then showed a smile Q tilde hash. With a snap, she closed the book and stood up slowly. "I finally found it, Straw Hat Pirates. FW_ is less than or equal to _." As she spoke, she jumped lightly and took off half a meter. The next moment, her back quickly stretched out countless arms, turned into a pair of wings, flapped, and flew to the pirate ship at once. Seeing this scene, Straw Hat Luffy was stunned and said excitedly, "Angel." He, I'm not an angel. Although I do know an angel, that lord is not very easy to get along with. Be careful, Luffy. Zoro stared sharply at the woman. This guy is dangerous. He spoke, he asked cautiously, "Who are you? It seems that you are looking for us on purpose." "I'm Nicole Robin." Robin sat on the side of the boat with Erlang's legs crossed, his chin resting on one hand, blinked his eyes, and said curiously, "I've been looking for you for 4 or 5 days." Nicole Robin. The perverted man in shorts thought for a while, "I always feel like I've heard this name before." "I see, is this name unfamiliar to you?" Robin Vivi Isho said, "Then change it. I am the son of the devil, and the bounty was 350 million a few years ago." A few years ago, when Dream had not returned, Marine always wanted to deal with Doflamingo and Robin. At that time, he offered Robin a reward of 200 million, which was later increased to 350 million. No bounty hunter dares to do it. And hearing this name, Nami suddenly called out and said in surprise, "I know her." Son of the Devil, Nicole Robin, the survivor of the West Blue O'Hara tragedy, later joined Dream. Hearing the word, Dream, Straw Hat Luffy's eyes narrowed, showing a serious look. As the dream of Emperor Chin. He remembered the scene in Logatown more than 4 months ago. He was subdued by Emperor Chin, and this was the first time he had met a character even more powerful than his grandfather. "Yes." Robin looked at the straw hat with a playful gaze. "Don't be so wary of me, I have no ill intentions. This time I'm looking for you, it's just the order of Lord Chin Emperor. Although I don't know why, he asked me to give this to you." Saying that, she took out a white card from under her hat and threw it gently. Straw Hat took it in doubt and asked, "What is this?" "Vivre card. You put it in the palm of your hand, and it moves slightly, pointing in a direction." Robin whispered. "This card, pointing, is the Sabayati archipelago." Miss Robin. At this time, Sanji, who had been infatuated with the nympho, finally came back to his senses, and immediately stepped forward and said in a gentle tone, "This beautiful lady, you gave us this card because you want us to go to the Sabayati archipelago. I read on the news that a month later, there will be a special tea party there." "He he he." Robin gently Isho, "My task, just to give it to you. Sabayati archipelago has no magnetism, the record pointer cannot be pointed, so there is no permanent record pointer pointing to it, so I will give you the Vivre card. As for what you want, what you do is up to you." After she finished speaking, she jumped lightly and jumped directly back onto the turtle's back. "Then, the Straw Hats, see you at the Sabayati archipelago if you have the chance." Watching Robin leave, Sanji looked regretful. "Don't look at it, it's all gone," Usopp said contemptuously. "However, the Dream Pirates, right? What did they mean? Tea party going, Luffy. Go." Straw Hat smiled and said, "It seems very interesting." Meanwhile, Robin dialed a number. "Lord Chin Emperor, the mission has been completed." "I see. What's next?" "Go to 9 Snakes and send an invitation to the Empress." On the other end of the phone, Chin Yang's calm voice came. "Oh." Robin responded, feeling a little subtle at the same time. She always felt that something had happened between Emperor Chin and the Empress. "You must know that the Emperor's name is the only one in the world who dares to use the Emperor's name. Except for the Chin Emperor, only the female Emperor is left, and the rest of the gods, Beatty, Entei, Boxing Emperor, Sword Emperor, were shot to death by the Dream. Could it be that there is an extraordinary relationship between the two?" Robin had to guess so. If Chin Yang knew what she was thinking, he would definitely feel helpless. The relationship between him and the Empress is not that complicated. The reason why he doesn't move the Empress is because, although this woman has a somewhat unusual personality, she is not a bad person. Secondly, the biggest reason is that the daughter country of 9 Snake Island is probably the prototype. It's the celestial dynasty of the Earth. It's like the prototype of Dressrosa, which is Spain. In addition, most people in the daughter country still believe that the sea dragon is their patron saint. Therefore, Chin Yang was embarrassed to start. In the Mysteria branch, Chin Yang sat on the sofa, closing his eyes and resting. Space-time fish have seen the new world. Chapter 0405_2 worlds. Second update. I went to the gym this afternoon, and then came back like a dead dog. I fell asleep and slept until 10 o'clock in the evening. The third update is estimated to be made up tomorrow morning. Close black lens bracket. The space-time fish has seen the new world. In the Mysteria branch, Chin-Yong sat upright and murmured softly. As an illusory body, the vision of the space-time fish is shared, and Chin-Yong can accurately grasp it. At this moment, he slowly closed his eyes and immersed most of his mind into the space-time fish. This is a strange space. No, it can't even be called space. There is no concept of up, down, left and right here. Everything is chaotic and white, and there is no law. Chaos is eternal. There is no order in space and time, and all that can be seen is chaos and disorder. At this moment, right in front of the space-time fish, beyond an immeasurable distance, there are two singularities. Is this the shape of a certain world in the turbulent flow of time and space? Chin-Yong approached and muttered to himself. The two singularities are different from each other. In one of them, the whole child has an oval shape, like a blue papaya. If you look carefully, you can see the mysterious scene inside the papaya. The other 15 places are even more peculiar. It was 8 rounded glass balls of different colors. These 8 balls were connected to each other and formed a circle to form a whole. It should be 2 worlds. Chin-Yong said to himself with certainty, and at the same time was a little surprised. Encountering 2 worlds at the same time, this luck is similar to winning the first prize in a lottery ticket. If the time-space turbulence is compared to the boundless ocean, then these different worlds are glass balls in the ocean. Even if these waves of Ukyu are in the hundreds of billions and trillions, the probability of discovering 2 worlds so close together at the same time is surprisingly small. Let's take a closer look first. Chin-Yong controlled the space-time fish and slowly approached the 2 worlds. There is no concept of time here, so Chin-Yong doesn't know how long it has passed, and it finally came to one of them. This is a wonderful world in which 8 perfectly round spheres are connected to each other and form a circle. Chin-Yong did not directly enter it. When approaching this world, the time-space fish had already suffered a huge repulsive force. This repelling force, like a biological instinct, will be activated against the invaders. Does the world have its own consciousness? Chin-Yong thought about it and guessed. He manipulated the space-time fish and wanted to forcibly enter, but the next moment, a larger repulsive force came out of the world, and it bounced directly. At the same time, Mysteria, Chin-Yong sitting on the sofa, suddenly opened his eyes. My head hurts a bit and I feel like I've been knocked over. He rubbed his temples and asked inwardly, Han, why is this? It's very simple, the level of that world is too high. Fantasy Jean's voice is still the same, without emotional fluctuations, just answering. .. and GT. The level is too high. ... Sean. Use your words to make an analogy. Space-time fish is a kind of bacteria and virus. When it invades the human body will naturally produce a resistance response. As an illusionary body that travels through time and space, in this analogy, it is not its strong. There is such a saying. Chin-Yong nodded, surprised. Of course, for example, in the fantasy world of some novels, there is a category of cultivators. Immortal cultivators fly from the human world to the immortal world, and they still need to go through the test of thunder. It's almost the same. Fantasy Jean said. In terms of that kind of world, it is heavenly Tao consciousness. However, the 8-ball world just now is not heavenly Tao, nor can it be said to be world consciousness, it is just a simple rejection reaction. Rejection. Chin-Yong pondered that the world of 8 balls is not very easy to enter, so let's put it aside for now. The other world of papaya seems to be slightly better. Let the space-time fish stay there first, and then I will study it after I finish dealing with the pirate world. Fantasy Jean said. There is no problem with this, but you must know that the world in the turbulent flow of time and space is not static, it will move. Well, I know, it won't be long. Great root, no wind. Robin sat on the turtle-back chair and looked up ahead. In front of the field of vision, thousands of meters away, a small island can already be seen. After a week of sailing, she finally found the island of 9 snakes. This is also because the turtles underfoot are parading very fast, otherwise it would take half a month to say the least. The Empress, Boya Hancock. Robin Vivi Isho, closed the book in his hand, and instructed the riding mount under his feet, "Little turtle, speed up." The little turtle is a member of the Sea Beast Legion. Like the previous ghost shark, he is a team leader, equivalent to over 100 million pirates, and has a strong combat power. One person and one tortoise soon approached 9 Snake Island. Robin came here on behalf of a dream, and naturally he had to go through the main entrance waterway. The protector of the country on the side of the daughter country soon discovered her existence. Some people stopped at the port, and some went to the palace to report. At the same time, the daughter country palace. On a soft and comfortable big bed, the Empress held a glass of red wine and looked at the old woman in front of her with her eyebrows twitching. The previous emperor, who allowed you to enter the concubine's bedroom at will. My mother-in-law didn't care. She held a newspaper in her hand and said solemnly, "Snake Princess, the world has undergone great changes, why don't you care?" HMPH. The Empress hummed softly, as if she didn't want to talk. Shichibukai has already existed in name only, and the world government has perished more than 10 days ago. Now the world has changed to a hegemon, and there will be a tea party soon. Snake Princess, you should go. Hearing this, the Empress gritted her teeth and held the wine glass with her fingers, and Vivi trembled. Concubine doesn't want to go. Heilong is also a master of dreams. He is the patron saint of our 9 snakes. Does he have the face to turn around and look for concubine? The queen is in a complicated mood. Granny Za said helplessly. Although most of the people on the island believe this, Sheji, as the emperor of the daughter country, you must go to the tea party. Dream has issued a warning, if you don't go, you won't give them face. They also had to settle accounts with us afterwards. Quote. This is a very correct judgment. If any country ignores the warning and the king does not come to the tea party, Dream has to teach a lesson in order to maintain its own majesty. Besides, you and Emperor Qin know each other, don't you? They have already wiped out the world government and killed Tenryubito. Although it's not for you, you should thank me. Granny reluctantly persuaded. A few days ago God, 097, you got the news and you looked shocked. Hearing this, the Empress's eyes became more complicated. Tenryubito clan was slaughtered, and she was indeed shocked when she found out. She really wanted to see Emperor Qin, but after seeing it, she didn't know what to say. Just thinking about it, a minister walked in outside the door. Sir Snake, the dreamy Nicole Robin is here. She said she wants to give you an invitation to the tea party. Huh, Empress Vivi was startled. And Granny Za immediately said, what are you waiting for, Snake Princess, let's go to see the dreamer together. They even sent an invitation letter. Nicole Robin, the child of the devil who was protected by the dream back then. And suddenly said, Marigeld, the city is closed, and the concubine needs to take a bath and change clothes well. Forget it, there is no need to seal the city, and now, it is not necessary. Sister, elder sister. Go and meet her and take her to the welcoming parlor. With that said, the Empress put down the wine glass, got up and walked in front of Granny Za. The former emperor of the previous generation, the concubine has been on the throne for 11 years, and she is tired of it. I should consider whether I should return the throne to you. Queen had a playful smile on her lips. You are so passionate about this country, and the throne is handed over to you, so you are very relieved. Looking at this delicate face, known as the world's #1 face, my mother-in-law suddenly felt frightened. Snake girl, little bitch, what do you want to do? HMPH, Gloriosa, when the concubine returns from the tea party, the throne will be returned to you. The Empress smiled and was in a good mood. After speaking, she quickly left the palace. Chapter 0406, Beastmaster, Ryan _ The third update tilde yesterday. My body is very weak after writing a book for a long time. If I exercise casually, I will be tired. ORZ. The daughter country, the palace, a parlor. Nicole Robin sat here for more than half an hour, and finally met the Emperor Boya Hancock here. The Empress has wet long hair and a shawl, and what she wears is not an ordinary split cheongsam, but a more elegant and luxurious long dress. The long skirt is black, off the shoulders, and the skirt is wide open. The bottom of the skirt revealed a pair of white-sleeved long legs and burgundy high-heeled shoes. When Robin saw this scene, Vivi couldn't help but startled, and a faint smile flashed in his eyes. The Empress had obviously just finished taking a shower, and had deliberately changed into more beautiful clothes. She was also a woman, and Robin could understand what it meant. It's probably that kind of feeling that you want to get the qualification to have a peer-to-peer conversation and work hard on your beauty. In other words, subconsciously, the Empress also felt that her status as a dream messenger was slightly higher than that of the Emperor of the Daughter Kingdom. Thinking like this, she immediately said, "Empress Boya Hancock, I have been ordered by the Emperor Qin to deliver the invitation to the tea party to you." Saying that, she took out a black card from the book in her hand and gave it to a minister beside her. The minister received the invitation letter and sent it to the queen. "My concubine knows." The Empress glanced casually and put it aside. "Boya Hancock, I am waiting for the dream to hold a tea party, and there are only 3 invitations issued. One is Monkey D. Long, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, and the other is Lion, the pirate 4 emperors and Beast King. As for the last one, it's you." Quote. Robin pursed his lips and said with a chuckle, "I hope you can participate as scheduled when the time comes." Hearing this, the Empress's eyes flashed. She is not a fool, on the contrary, under normal circumstances, she is quite intelligent, so when she heard this sentence, she understood the meaning of dream at once. Dream obviously thinks that she may be willful not to go, so she specially sent an invitation letter so that it would be difficult for both parties to step down. In this regard, the Empress couldn't help feeling helpless. Emperor Qin seemed to know her quite well. Originally, she really planned not to go, but now that the invitations have been sent, she has to go if she doesn't. After all, the other party gives face like this, and she has to give it to the other party, and face is always given to each other. After a moment of silence, the Empress opened her mouth and asked hesitantly, "My concubine is a little curious. The core members of your dreams have disappeared for 9 years. Where did they go during this time?" She actually wanted to ask where Emperor Qin and Heilong went. "This is the core secret, even I don't know it." Nicole Robin shook her head. "If you want to know, you can ask the core members in person." After she finished speaking, she added, "My mission has been completed, so, I will leave first. I hope to see you at the tea party, otherwise being too willful will lead to serious consequences." "Wait." Empress immediately said, "Since I received the invitation, the concubine will go to Sabayati Archipelago immediately. If you don't mind, you can go together." "Very happy." Robin couldn't help but smile. "However, if you want to ask me a secret question about the dream, I won't say it. Otherwise, Lord Chindi is going to be angry. It's terrifying for him to be angry." Empress was in a hurry and immediately hummed, "Sandersonia, go and prepare the ship." "Yes, my elder sister." At the same time, the New World, the original Kaido Sea area, is now called the Ryan Sea area. Above a terrifying sea of storms, a huge pirate ship swayed constantly in the storm. In this terrifying climate, a group of crew members were talking and laughing on its deck. "Boss, he's the captain of the Whitebeard Pirates, isn't it a little bad for us to arrest him?" A very ugly-looking man laughed. "In recent years, he has become famous, and the name of Fire Fist Ace is very loud, louder than me. Ha ha ha, this guy seems to be chasing down the traitor Blackbeard, but was defeated by Blackbeard. The captain of Hell's 3-headed dog, captured him by the way. It's a pity that Blackbeard ran away, otherwise it would have been better to catch Blackbeard too. That guy is not easy to deal with, and since he has teamed up with Heinel, it's still tricky to swallow the fruit." A group of people said a word to me, looking at the handcuffed Padaka's Ace. In this regard, Ace looked calm, but there was blood on the corner of his mouth. It wasn't the Beastmasters who did it, but the Blackbeard. A few days ago, he found Blackbeard, had a fierce battle, lost, and happened to meet Pegasus, one of the two monsters of the Beastmaster pirates. This guy directly captured him who was out of combat power. Captain, what to do with him? Will Whitebeard come to lead someone? The speaker, with thick eyebrows and a tattoo on his neck, is a three-headed dog, extremely vicious. Everyone's eyes narrowed, and they all looked at the bow, even Ace couldn't help but look at it. Above the lion statue on the bow, a man with blonde hair sat with his back to the crowd, holding a fishing rod, drinking strong wine, and fishing in the storm. Boss, with such a big wind and rain, you can't choose this kind of time for fishing, right? Someone said speechlessly. Huh. The lion-haired man let out a light snort and pulled the lever violently. The next moment, a huge behemoth gushed out from under the sea. What? Really caught it? It's big. A crew member was shocked. This shark, with a snow-white body and a body length of 200 meters, was twice the size of their pirate ship. Don't move, the captain snorted coldly and said, this is a ghost shark. What did you say? The last sentence, he said to the ghost shark. Hearing this, the ghost shark pouted and spat out a black card, which happened to fall into the captain's hand. Immediately afterwards, the ghost shark made a few more low voices, then dived into the sea and disappeared. What's the matter? Pegasus asked. Captain, could this shark be the Sea Beast Legion? Ryan grinned and said, finding us so easily is worthy of being the ruler of the ocean. I'm afraid the entire sea area is covered with his eyeliner. People are puzzled. But Lane dropped the fishing rod, got up and stepped off the bow, turn around and get ready to Sabayati Archipelago. As he said that, he couldn't help but feel a little doubt in his heart. Why does a dreamer know that he can communicate with animals? Can you understand the language of animals? This ability, except for a limited number of people, few of his subordinates know about it. Emperor Chin, this guy knows everything. Just in time, I'll go and see for myself. What kind of characters are people who suppressed an era 10 years ago? Ryan's eyes flickered, and suddenly he said to the cadre next to him, practice the deputy captain, let him come back. That guy doesn't necessarily follow orders. It doesn't matter, you can convey it like this. I see. Immediately, the Beastmaster pirate ship quickly escaped the storm and headed for the first half of the Great Route. Chapter 0407_opening of the Tea Party. The first update tilde I have to exercise in the afternoon. I feel like I'm going to die, but please rest assured in the third update, it will definitely be completed. If I don't exercise again, I'll be out of breath for the 3 flights of stairs close black lens bracket. It has been a month since the Holy Land War. The turmoil of the demise of the world government has not subsided, but has gradually fermented over time. Especially the dreamy tea party, which will be held today, attracts countless people to Sabayati Archipelago. If the former Sabayati land had 79 areas, it would be more than enough to accommodate the people who came this time, but today, there are only 13 areas left in the Sabayati Archipelago, and the swarming kingdoms and pirate groups can easily fill the port. Full, more ships, can only dock overseas. 13 areas in the shape of a crescent moon. Rows of ships are docked in the entire Moonbend port. At a glance, there are at least hundreds of thousands of ships. One after another, more ships arrived. So many people, the tea party actually attracted so many people. On a pirate ship, a group of people in straw hats got off the wooden board, and Captain Luffy looked at the port and said excitedly. Luffy, Nami said seriously, you must not cause trouble. These people are kings of a certain country, or some big pirates. Just throwing a stone can hit a group of terrible guys. Indeed, the aura of the strong is everywhere. Zoro's eyes were sharp. He glanced around, and saw the masters who were restraining their breath. Beautiful young ladies are everywhere. I heard that even the kingdom of Fishman has come, and there is a legendary mermaid princess. Sanji exhaled from his nostrils, breathing heavily. Idiot, be honest too. Usopp whispered, I don't want to get in trouble. Ha ha ha, don't worry, I'll be honest. Straw Hat Luffy laughed and ran quickly towards the crowded place. Let's go, Zoro, Sanji, there will be no seats later. Just don't get lost. Zoro followed with a calm face. Don't get lost, it's you, Chlorella. What did you say? Curly eyebrows. Who gets lost? How dare you say it, stinky swordsman. Do you want to fight? The smelly cook. The two of them didn't agree, and they got into a fight immediately. Nami held her forehead speechlessly. Chopper, remember to protect me. It's too dangerous here, we shouldn't be here. At the same time, on the other side of the port, on a merchant ship, a group of men in white coats descended. The man walking in the middle, with a fine short beard and a pair of round glasses, seemed to have heard a noise. Vivi looked sideways at the Straw Hat group not far away. Ha Monkey D. Luffy, Vivi Isho, the man, no BFB thought this group of people came too. Will Garp Vice Admiral come back? Chian. The last sentence, he asked the people around him, is greater than or equal to. He was also wearing a white coat. After hearing the man's question, the man shook his head and said, I didn't know Garp Vice Admiral went to East Blue, and now I don't know where I can't get in touch. Then the Revolutionary Army should appear. This it should be. It is rumored that the funds behind them are provided by Doflamingo, that is, the Dream is supporting them. If that's true, then it's not a whim that Dream wants to destroy the government, it's always been the intention. Man shook his head helplessly. Let's go to the tea party first. Maybe we can see that colleague today. Yes, Dr. Bakerpunk. Immediately, a group of researchers in white coats followed Bakerpunk to Area 7. They are not worried about what the Dream will do to them, they are just researchers, the world government is gone, and the new overlord will not be able to embarrass them. Soon after, Area 7. Here, there is a large open-air square. Because there is no such big house to accommodate the people this time, Doflamingo will hold the tea party here. There are fantastic peripheral members to maintain order, so it can also ensure the smooth flow of the process. The entire venue was temporarily surrounded by wooden fences, and an entrance was set up in the direction of the main entrance. At this moment, a group of people are queuing up quietly. Whether it's a king, a pirate, a big businessman, or a singer, any status is fine. In this place, you can only queue up obediently. Because there was a going disc suspended above everyone's heads, someone wanted to cut in the queue before, but was directly killed by the going disc. Bakerpunk and the others could only obediently line up. In front of Bakerpunk, the Straw Hats were also lining up. By the way, what's going on? Some people went in, and some people were just driven away. Usopp stood on tiptoe and looked ahead. Who knows, maybe there is no invitation letter. Frankie touched the nose of his plane and said solemnly, although dreams are wild, they will not do things like drive people out without reason. Speaking of which, there is still a little grudge with them. Quote. Invitation letter. Nami was stunned, then shook her head. We don't seem to have either. But forget it, we can definitely go in. The team is advancing very fast. Each group will be asked a few questions, and after they are asked, they will be released. 10 minutes later, it was the Straw Hats' turn. Pirate, Marine, King, Merchant. Pirates, we are the Straw Hat Pirates. Before Luffy, Nami said quickly. Let's see, the man sitting there flipped through the information, then shook his head. Your captain only has a reward of 100 million, if you are not qualified, please go. What? Sanji was immediately dissatisfied. He was here to see the beauty. What's the reason for this? It is stipulated that the captain offers a reward of more than 500 million pirates to enter, otherwise, the venue will not be crowded. Hearing this, several people suddenly became anxious. It's okay, let them in. At this moment, a voice came from the venue. The registered man glanced sideways, stood up immediately, and hurriedly shouted respectfully, "Lord Ibaraki." Ibaraki. Luffy looked suspiciously. The person who appeared was very young, handsome, with a smile on the corner of his mouth, and nodded towards him. "Who is it?" "Ibaraki Doji, the core member of the Dream." Someone next to him whispered. "The bounty 500 million. Among the known Dream members, the bounty is the lowest, but even so, it exceeds 500 million. The Straw Hats were stunned. "I don't know the New World. I don't know that the bounty is high, and there are as many pirates as dogs over 100 million. At this time, the registration man urged, "Since Ibaraki-sama agrees, then you hurry in." Oh. Nami nodded quickly, pulled Luffy, and quickly entered the venue. The line continued, and after 3 or 5 more, it was finally Baker Punk's turn. To the question from the registered man, Backpunk ignored the question, but looked straight at Ibaraki Doji and said, "Good afternoon, members of the Dream. Since you appeared, I have studied you deeply, especially Ni. Mr. Ibaraki Doji, maybe you are not outstanding among the many cores of fantasy, but I am most curious about you." Quote. "Oh. Just listen to Bakerpunk and then laughed. I have analyzed your energy through a special instrument. The black flame that you injured Akainu at the beginning, I call it, magic power." Hearing this, Ibaraki Doji's eyes suddenly lit up. "Backpunk, you are very nice. Come with me, I came to you on purpose." Saying that, Ibaraki Doji turned around and walked away. "Lord Chin Emperor, I want to see you." Honored. Chapter 0408-Birth of the United Nations 1. At the open-air tea party scene, people passed through the entrance one after another and sat in their respective positions under the guidance of the staff. A group of kings, a group of major pirates, a group of major merchants. In addition, there are seats reserved for the Revolutionary Army, Shichibukai, Marine and others. Of course, the people who come are very complicated, including singers, bounty hunters, swordsmen, martial arts experts and so on. The tea party does not limit the identity of the people who come in, but everyone who can come in has a very high achievement in their own field. For example, pirates need to have a reward of 500 million, businessmen need to have a large enough business circle, singers need to be famous, swordsmen need to be at least great swordsmen, and so on. Suddenly, on the high platform of the tea party, a series of laughter sounded, and then the figure of Doflamingo walked out slowly. More people came than I expected. He walked to the center of the high platform. He glanced at the audience. There is still an hour before the start of the tea party, and now there are only 179 national representatives present. Having said that, he stopped, faced the guests, and said with a low smile, "It seems that some people still ignore my warning, and I hope that they will not regret it later. In short, welcome everyone to come to our tea party. This is just an entertainment, tea drinking symposium, don't be too nervous. Before the official start, please enjoy the food on the table quietly." Entertainment nature. Hearing this, countless people cursed inwardly. This is a disguised World Conference, and it is bigger than the World Conference in the World Government period, but the reception specifications are more casual. At the same time, in the hearts of countless kings, they admired those countries that did not come. This is really a lion's head stroking the hair, and there are really many guys who are not afraid of death. Are more than 200 countries in the world, and now there are only less than 180 people present. For the rest, I am afraid that Dream will punish them one by one in the future. However, this matter has nothing to do with them. They came to participate mainly because they wanted to see how Dream prepared to accept the functions of the world government. Immediately, many acquaintances began to chat with each other. In a living room, Chin Yong sat on the sofa. He looked at Bakerpunk and his party, raised his chin, and gestured, "Sit down." "Chin Emperor, you are younger than the rumors. How do you keep your youth forever? I'm very curious." Punk Vivi Isho immediately sat opposite Chin Yong. Then, Nicole Robin played the role of a maid, holding tea and pouring tea for the guests. Is youth eternal? Qin Yang said with a stern smile. There is no such thing as eternal youth, but my aging rate is extremely slow, about 1% of normal human beings. 1%. Is living 100 years equal to 1 year old? Vegapunk was very surprised. This person can live thousands of years. Shaking his head, he didn't take it too seriously. If you can give me a drop of blood, Emperor Qin, maybe I can study the reason, but I also know that this is unrealistic. Some capable people can use blood only to deal with the problem. Target to attack. He said helplessly. Then, let's get down to business. Emperor Qin, why do you want to see me? Before getting down to business, I'm very interested in what you just said. Qin Yang looked directly at the other party and exerted a little mental pressure. You said to Ibaraki that you have studied his black flames and called this energy, magic power. 10 years ago, when Ibaraki first appeared, he was attacked by a kainu. At that time, he used the black flame to slightly injure a kainu. Yes, supernatural power is just my personal name, and it can be called by other names. Vegapunk said eloquently, this is a power different from the devil fruit, nor the blood power of some races, but a more mysterious energy, such as your sea dragon, which can control the ocean, and the archangel has the power of holy light. The king of knights and kings of heroes has the power of material origin, which is almost similar to the magic in fantasy novels. Quote. Magic, I guessed it right, indeed magic. Qin Yang thought to himself. Even within you, the energies possessed by each member are extremely different, as if from different systems or, to put it bluntly, from different worlds. Vegapunk chuckled and said, if our research team guessed correctly, these members of your dreams should come from different worlds. So, will I be killed because I know too much? Don't worry, I wasn't so careful when I waited. Qin Yang said calmly. He is now the overlord of the pirate world, and there is no need to kill each other because of a scientist's guess. So it turns out, it seems that there really is another world. Vegapunk sighed. It's amazing, this other world is not another planet, but the concept of a parallel universe. If possible, can we make I join your dream, join you, can I go to other worlds to see? Ha ha ha. Qin Yang couldn't help laughing. Your idea is very interesting, but I can think about it. Saying that, Qin Yang motioned to Robin. Seeing this, Robin immediately took 2 small treasure chests, put them on the table, and opened them. What I said just now, put it aside for now, can you see the difference between these 2 devil fruits? Hearing this, Vegapunk watched intently. The 2 fruits are similar in color and pattern, but slightly different in shape. After a moment of silence, he stretched out his left hand, revealing a peculiar watch. Qin Yang didn't know what this guy was doing, but after 5 minutes, Vegapunk gave the answer. Strange, the 2 fruits are real, but the energy feedback is different. The one on the left is the normal value, and the one on the right is only 1/3 of the normal value. Hearing this, Qin Yang raised his eyebrows and praised, as expected of the world's #1 scientist, you were right, the one on the left is a naturally formed devil fruit, and the one on the right is an artificial zone devil fruit. Is it Caesar? Vegapunk was startled. He actually succeeded. I heard a few years ago that he had completed his research and was only 1 step away. I didn't expect the finished product to appear now. It's not a finished product, it's a mass product. Qin Yang corrected. What? Vegapunk was immediately shocked. It's really amazing, the artificial devil fruit is probably the first time in history. In the past, at most, it was modified by someone, and it was based on ability. A large number of scientists are conducting research on devil fruits, and the recognized breakthroughs are transformation, man-made, fusion and so on. Now it seems that man-made is really successful, and it has reached the mass production level. Artificial zone devil fruit has great limitations. Compared with the real devil fruit, its growth rate is very low. Qin Yang said solemnly, I am not satisfied, I need to go further. Vegapunk, if you can help I'll wait for the research, and I can promise you a condition. Zone artificial fruit made by Caesar can also be absorbed as a mysterious force, 3 or 4 fruits are equivalent to 1 real fruit. Although it can be mass-produced, the annual output is only more than 100, less than 200, which is equivalent to 50 devil fruits, so there is still room for improvement. However, it is unrealistic to rely on Caesar alone, so Qin Yang thought of Baker Punk. Hearing Qin Yang's words, Baker Punk suddenly laughed and said, "The conditions of the Dream Emperor Qin are really tempting. In fact, my conditions are very simple. Let me join the dream, and promise me to take me to other places. World, I'd love to help you with your research, if you'll agree." In this regard, Qin Yang thought for a moment, then nodded immediately. "No problem, you are a reserve member for the time being. When you complete your research, you can upgrade to a full member. At that time, if there is a chance, I will take you to other worlds." That's what it says. Baker Punk's eyes flashed, and he agreed without thinking. He. Qin Yang chuckled twice, got up and walked towards the door. "Come together, go to the tea party, go to establish a new order, create the United Nations." Chapter 0409-Birth of the United Nations 2. The third update yesterday. I'm sorry, I am really sorry, I broke my promise yesterday. I missed a chapter and didn't update it. I must make it up today. Outdoor tea party scene. When the noon sun came down, the entrance to the tea party was quietly closed. More than 6,000 people attended this tea party, including 195 kings from various countries. Whether it is far away in the world or in the New World, 90% of the countries in the world came to participate in the dreamy tea party. It's almost time. At this time, on a high platform, Doflamingo got up and walked to the center of the stage, facing all the participants. "Welcome everyone to come to this tea drinking forum. First of all, please wait for the dream members to appear." Hearing this, tens of thousands of people sat down with their eyes fixed. The dreamer is here. I wonder how many people will appear this time. Maybe all the 10 rulers will be present. Amidst the shrill voices of discussion, I saw a flash of black light on the high platform, and a wisp of black smoke came down. Black smoke is like a silky ribbon, descending on the high platform, lingering around, and quickly turning into a figure. Shadow Demon. Immediately, someone was stunned. This person knew what happened 10 years ago, so he knew a lot about Shadow Demon. The dream member who first appeared in front of the world. Now think about it. When he invaded the Holy Land and assassinated Tenryubito, not really worth mentioning. Quote. Killing a Tianlong back then caused a stir all over the world, and now Tenryubito has wiped out the clan. After the Shadow Demon appeared, with a wave of his hand, the sky suddenly became dark, and at the same time, bright lights lit up all over the tea party scene. Darkness is coming. After finishing the arrangement, Ying Yao walked to a Taishi chair and sat down without saying a word. Then, above the sky, a sound of dragon roar came, and a behemoth broke through the dark sky and descended suddenly. His body was hundreds of meters, and after flying over the tea party, it turned into a ray of white light, quickly projected it, and landed directly on a chair. Ocean Master Sea Dragon. A gust of demonic wind suddenly erupted, and the demonic wind blew people's hearts, as if it could lure people into depravity. The next moment, Ibaraki Doji was already sitting on the chair. Immediately afterwards, the earth shook, and from far away, a 9-tailed demon fox came running wildly, jumping over the high fence outside the tea party. The huge figure collapsed in midair, the golden light flickered, and it instantly turned into a fox. Male. Ninth Master is here too. With a loud laugh, the 9-tailed demon fox sat directly beside Heilong. At this moment, above the sky, a going flying boat dragged its emerald green majesty and arrived in an instant. From the flying boat, 2 figures jumped down one after another. King of Heroes, King of Knights. As soon as the voice fell, a click sounded, as if there was a soul singing. A frost-bone dragon flapped its wings and flew high, hovering over the tea party. Everyone looked up and saw that the Lich King, dressed in heavy armor, descended directly onto the stage. Degree. The Lord of the Earth. At the same time as the Lich King appeared, the sound of dark crows chirped around, and countless black crows flew and gathered on the stage, quickly turning into a young figure. This man was wearing a black-bottomed red cloud robe, with a forehead guard on his head. He is. Someone was stunned at first, and then remembered that the list on the wanted list should be Uchiha Itachi, Dream Ninja. Rumor has it that Wano Kuni's ninja wants to be his teacher. Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, a wild laughter broke out, and a demonic shadow suddenly appeared above the stage. The demon has wings on its back, long horns on its head, and a topless body, revealing an invincible body. The great demon king of fear, the Lord of the Abyss. This guy is a character in myths and legends, and he often appears in people's dreams. A king said in horror that he had been invaded by the great demon king of fear, and the horror scenes in the dream made him unforgettable. Then, at the top of the sky, a cloud of holy light suddenly gathered. The huge cloud of holy light enveloped the entire Sabayati archipelago. Even from the marine headquarters, this huge cloud could be clearly seen. The cloud of holy light casts a divine light that illuminates a vacant guest chair above the stage. I am the holy archangel. The majestic voice sounded, and in the holy light, an angel phantom was condensing. Countless people looked up and were shocked. The condensed body of an angel actually has 10 wings and 5 pairs of wings. Impossible 10-winged archangel. Somewhere in the tea party, Kizaru couldn't help widening his eyes. Isn't it 6-winged before? However, this kind of doubt, no one will answer him. The next moment, the holy light disappeared, the yellow sand filled the sky, and on the stage, a shadow of yellow sand appeared immediately. Desert Emperor Azir. As soon as the voice fell, there was lightning and thunder, a thunderbolt fell, and a roar sounded. Everyone fixed their eyes and saw a mighty thunder tiger standing proudly on the stage. This is. Many people seemed sluggish. This character, 99% of the people, saw it for the first time. I am the master of thunder light, the god beast Lei Gong. Lei Gong spit out words, and after he finished speaking, he jumped on the chair and lay down to rest. Domination again. This is not the end. At the same time that Lei Gong appeared, a white-haired boy, who did not know when, had already taken a seat next to him. Special Messenger, Accelerator, possessing dominance-level combat power. It's better to be famous than to meet, it's too terrifying. Just how many Dominators are there? It's no wonder that the world government perished so easily. In the face of this kind of power, even without Kaido's few people, the world government could not escape its fate. Everyone sighed, but saw a long-haired man standing in the center of the stage. His hands were sealed, and he whispered, "Wood done, the technique of growing fences." Kakaka. At this moment, the fences outside the tea party grew together, and all of a sudden it was raised, like a cage, blocking the entire tea party scene. What does he want to do? 6 spots. The rumored ruler of Yin and Yang. I heard that a month ago, he was the one who killed 2 admiral class. There was a riot at the scene. Madara's action made everyone vigilant. However, at this moment, above the sky, a heavy pressure suddenly came. Boom. Everyone's expression changed in unison, and the weak were directly suppressed. They couldn't even lift their heads. They could only stare at the ground with wide eyes. Aizen. Beastmaster Ryan looked attentively. I saw that on the stage, the space was torn apart, and a figure stepped out, and that was the deputy captain, the god of death Aizen. They kept everyone waiting. Aizen Vivi Isho, but did not disperse the spiritual pressure, but 3.2 slowly found a seat and sat down. In short, let Lord Qin Emperor appear. As soon as the voice fell, the space rippled, and Qin Yang stepped out. There was no pressure, and there was no earth-shattering appearance, just stepped through the space flatly, and landed on the main seat in one step. What? Ryan's eyes widened, full of incredible color. He had been paying attention to the stage, but he couldn't even see how the other party appeared. His head seemed to be sluggish for a moment, and when he realized it, Emperor Qin had already sat down. As if he noticed something, Qin Yang glanced at the man a little, then ignored it. Everyone, the tea party will begin. First of all, about how the new order will be established after the demise of the world government. Qin Yang spoke calmly, and the voice entered everyone's ears. I will unite all countries in the world to establish a new type of international organization for peaceful coexistence, referred to as United Nations. Chapter-401-10 Winged Archangel. The first update tilde the arm is strained, the biceps, and the front position, the arm cannot be straightened naturally, and I will feel the tearing pain when I use it, which affects my coding speed a bit. Is there any quick way to relieve this? Wait for OVO online. Close black lens bracket. United Nations. Qin Yang's direct opening made all the kings present stunned. And the name of the new order organization, United Nations, is even more bewildering. However, at least it sounds more hockey than world government. At this moment, an elderly man stood up, raised his hand and said, Emperor Qin, I would like to ask, what kind of organization is the United Nations? What kind of organization? Qin Yang was in the presence of the old god and pondered for a moment before saying, this is an organization that uses communication to resolve disputes on the principle of peace. Having said this, he paused and glanced at the kings. Most of the kings of these countries are human races, but there are also demi-human races, long-handed races, long-footed races, mermaid races, giant races, and so on. The major races in the world live on the same planet. Like humans, you have the same language and wisdom, so you should coexist peacefully. No one is more noble than anyone else, and all people are created equal. Everyone born equally. Not only the kings of some weak and small countries, but also the rest of the guests were shocked. Is this what a pirate should say? This is the first time I have heard of this kind of speech. In the era of world government, Tenryubito is supreme, and of course there can be no equality at all. All beings are equal, Qin Yang said with a blank expression. He didn't use any ability to make his words more infectious, he just said calmly, you are a man, a woman, a child, an old man, mermaid or fish man, strong or weak, all people are equal, and from the moment you were born in this world, you have inviolable equal rights. The United Nations is an organization capable of equal dialogue for all races in the world. Pause, he added. Any individual, group, force, or country that attempts to undermine this theme is the enemy of all members of the United Nations. Of course, this is just talk. Qin Yang has no interest in caring about human rights in this world. The reason why I say this is just so that these kings can have an explanation. Regardless of whether you agree or disagree, the United Nations must be established, and it is mandatory to join. And just as he finished speaking, Neptune suddenly stood up. He first glanced at Princess Otoji and Princess Shirahoshi beside him, then took a deep breath and said, Lord Qin Emperor, we, the Kingdom of Fishman Island, are willing to join the United Nations and uphold the principle of equality of all beings. Hearing this, Qin Yang raised his eyebrows and couldn't help but look at the other party. This wasn't the care he had arranged in advance, it was Neptune who stood up by himself. However, it is reasonable to think about it. The Mermaid Kingdom is a country that is deeply persecuted. Other hand, Princess Shirahoshi, with a nervous look and big watery eyes, stared at Qin Yang without blinking. In response, Qin Yang rushed to her issue and said, long time no see, little Princess Shirahoshi. Not seeing him for 9 years, Shirahoshi has grown up and has a body size of 20 meters. After hearing Qin Yang's words, he nodded again and again. Obviously he still had a fresh memory of Qin Yang. King Neptune, I know that among human beings, there are many examples of mermaid trafficking. It is only natural that you are eager to join. Qin Yang said loudly. Of course, after the establishment of the United Nations, this kind of mermaid trafficking will not be allowed. Speaking, he said to the other major kings, whether you want to join or not, the United Nations will be established. Today I just inform you that countries that do not join will have serious consequences. We're in. Alabasta, willing to join the United Nations. Dressrosa, willing to join. Immediately, a group of kings agreed. However, there are also a small number of ugly faces. Dream Emperor Qin, you just said that all living beings are equal, but now you are forcing everyone to join and oppressing us. What's the reason? Isn't it equal? We should have the full power to make free decisions. A man with a big face shouted loudly. Qinyang smiled and said, did you misunderstand? I said, everyone is equal, especially, people. I wait for dreams to be outside this category, and if I insist, I wait for, God. Do you understand? Hearing this, the face of the big-faced man changed slightly. This is simply a naked hegemony. The previous inciting words were indeed false. You are the strong, we are the weak, what you say is the truth. The man snorted and sat down again. Qinyang was too lazy to take care of this kind of ridicule. No matter how dissatisfied he was, he had to hold back. He continued, the 195 countries present here will all become the founding countries of the United Nations. First of all, congratulations to you for taking a crucial step on the road of equality. Speaking of which, he chuckled and said, the United Nations will have 20 members, and above the members, there will be 5 permanent members, and the 5 permanent members will be held by individuals. They have the power to make decisions on daily affairs. 5 permanent members, or an individual, isn't this a remake of Gorosei, 5 elders? Everyone has a heart. And above the 5 permanent directors, the only, God, is established. One God, Emperor Qin himself. Many people's eyes were slightly condensed, but in the next second, their expressions changed. Among the members of the dream, the master of the sky suddenly exuded a divine brilliance. Above the entire night sky, an incomparably huge cloud of holy light was born. The 10 wings of the archangel spread out from behind and flew over the heads of everyone. You have different minds. As the only God of the United Nations, I will personally purify you and cleanse your filthy hearts. The 10-winged archangel closed his eyes, and the cloud of holy light suddenly projected a huge sacred radiance, covering everyone at the tea party scene. Bathed under the holy light, everyone only felt a burst of warmth, as if returning to the mother's placenta. The whole person was washed from the inside out. 10-winged archangel, one of the pirates murmured with a shocked expression, he has more power of the holy light than when he had 6 wings. At the same time, on the high platform, a figure slowly walked out. With a smile on his face, the priest turned to look at Qinyang and said, Emperor Qin, if you want to brainwash such a complex number of people at one time, you may not be able to succeed. It doesn't matter, raise the statue and let the power of the archangel increase. Qinyang's face was as usual, and he said lightly, I don't know if I can purify the whole world in one breath, but now there are tens of millions of people watching the live broadcast, at least 10 million people, there is no problem. You must know that the current archangel is 5-star. Compared with the original 3-star, it is more than half a star stronger. I see. The priest shrugged and turned on the switch immediately. A click sounded, and under the stage, an angel statue slowly rose. The next moment, the angel statue radiates divine radiance, resonating with the power of the archangel. The next instant, the cloud of holy light that enveloped the entire Sabayati archipelago spread rapidly at 10 times the speed. The state of affairs seems to fill the entire planet in one breath. Chapter-401-420 The Only God. Second update. There will be a third update after that. Please rest assured, it will definitely be finished today. Also, Pirate is almost over, and there are about 20 chapters left. However, why do you keep saying that I am water? Although it is almost the end, it is indeed a little water. Left pointing arrow close black lens bracket. Shrouded in the sky above, Sabayati archipelago is rapidly expanding at a speed of 10 times and 100 times. More than 6,000 people at the open-air tea party all raised their heads and stared blankly at this scene. If you are older, you still remember clearly that 10 years ago, there was a holy light that enveloped half of the world once. Today, this scene seems to be reappearing. What a huge amount of energy. Beastmaster Ryan's eyes widened, full of incredible expressions. If an energy level of this intensity was poured down on him in one breath, he could almost be sure that he would be smashed into powder in an instant, and Zone's healing and recovery ability could not keep up with the speed of destruction. At the same time, in a corner of the pirate seat behind him, Vio the Sky Eye also opened his mouth blankly, unable to speak. His left eye is a mechanical eye. At this moment, a bunch of values can be seen in the mechanical eye. Before, he visited the deputy captain of the Beastmaster Pirates, and through the transformation ability of the other party, he mechanically transformed his own Sky Eye fruit. One of the abilities acquired through transformation is to numerically display the target's strength. Impossible 10-winged archangels. Level is so high. Vio was shocked in his heart. He looked up at the cloud of holy light and at the archangel who radiated holy light. The level displayed by the other party was far beyond ordinary. Vio even suspected that there was a problem with his fruit ability. He didn't believe in evil, and immediately set his eyes on a 500 million level pirate, and the value given by the mechanical eye was 1080. No problem, it's not that I read it wrong. He took a deep breath, and once again set his eyes on Marine's Marshal Akainu. Akainu's level is 3800. For Emperor Ryan's level is 5300. No problem, it's all normal. The mechanical eye is the result of the transformation of the ability of the Sky Eye fruit. It will analyze the target in an all-round way, and comprehensively obtain a grade value. The original Sky Eye did not have the ability to quantify it, and it was acquired after the transformation. Speaking, the level of over 100 million pirates is between 100 to 500, the level of 500 million pirates is between 1000-2000, the level of Admiral is between 3000-4000, and the level of 4 Emperors is generally above 5000. However, the level value displayed by the Archangel, the ruler of the sky, is already extraordinary. 12,960. It was the first time Vio had seen a 5-digit grade value. Before that, the highest was Whitebeard's 6,800. How is this possible? Even if he is the master, this is too strong. Moreover, it was not more than 10,000 just now, and it suddenly skyrocketed. What the hell is going on? Vio swallowed his saliva, always feeling very strange. He abruptly withdrew his gaze and turned to look on the high platform to look at the dream members. Flamingo, 3660. HCG. Ibaraki Doji. Nine-tailed fox, 4220. Sea dragon, 16,000. What? Vio's eyes widened again. How is it possible Ocean Master has more than 16,000? He paled in astonishment, then continued to look in fear. 6 spots, 16,668. Aizen. Emperor Qin. When the mechanical eye was incalculable, what Vio saw was a pile of random numbers. Especially when he saw Emperor Qin, Vio's left eye hurt, and blood suddenly overflowed from his eyeball. Ah! He cried out in pain, covered his eyes suddenly, lowered his head in horror, and dared not take another look. Dream is very strong, any member has extraordinary strength, everyone knows this. But when the eyes of the day were able to see the specific numbers, Vio was still shocked beyond words. In the face of such terrifying combat power, the 4 emperors are not worth mentioning at all. Especially the captain and deputy captain, even the ability of the devil fruit, it is difficult to estimate the strength of each other. When he spied on the strength of the dream crowd, Qin Yang seemed to have noticed something, glanced at him, and didn't pay any more attention. Let's get started. Qin Yang stared at the archangel, then nodded at the priest. 8th change, Holy Archangel. Star rating. Ability 1, Feather of God. Ability 2, Holy Light. Ability 3, Divine Language. Ability 4, Fire of Faith. Ability 5, Divine Will. More than a month ago, before attacking the Holy Land, Qinyang asked the archangel to find the priest and reach a consensus with the other party. After that, Qinyang immediately upgraded the archangel to 5-star level, unlocking the remaining 2 abilities. Ability 4 aside, Ability 5 is the key to purifying the world and ending the era of the Great Pirate. The archangel can directly transmit his own will to the depths of people's hearts through the holy light, and engrave a sacred imprint. Simply put, it is to force the target into one's own followers. Of course, Qinyang does not need believers, so the divine will exerted this time is to erase the evil thoughts in people's hearts and make people identify with the United Nations. At this moment, the cloud of holy light is spreading rapidly, spreading away at a speed of 10 times and 100 times. In just a few minutes, it has spread over half of the planet. The scene when the angel was born is reappearing today. First, the black sky of the shadow demon came, and then the cloud of holy light of the archangel. At this moment, the entire pirate planet is half dark and half sacred. And on the holy side, beams of light from the sky cast down one after another, illuminating one place and another island. On each island, whether it is a human kingdom or a beast paradise, all creatures with self-awareness, feel the will of God coming. In the depths of their hearts, the figure of the archangel was deeply imprinted. The only God of the United Nations, the Supreme Being, is the symbol of world peace. In an instant, countless people fell to their knees and worshipped the sky. Did it succeed? The priest murmured. After the increase of the angel statue, the divine power of the archangel was mobilized to the limit, radiating half of the world, purifying the 100 tribes and ending the era of the great pirates. Did it succeed? No. Qinyang narrowed his eyes and said softly, "It's a little bit worse. The 10-winged archangel is not a complete body after all. The real peak needs to absorb faith. However, Qinyang disdains to absorb it. Therefore, the cloud of holy light cannot cover the whole world, even if it is half a planet. The projection of the divine will vary, not easy. Close places, such as the Sabayati archipelago, are better to say, and farther places, but those with strong willpower can resist a little. It's a pity, but it doesn't matter. 99% of people have been implanted with the concept of the one God, and the rest are nothing to worry about." Qinyang smiled lightly. "Then, that's okay." As soon as his voice fell, the holy light that illuminated the world suddenly stopped. The figure of the 10-winged archangel gradually faded, the cloud of holy light began to dissipate, and at the same time, a voice resounded throughout the world. "I am the holy archangel, the ruler of the sky, the only God of the United Nations, and I will bring 1,000 years of peace." After the sound resounded, at the tea party, more than half of the more than 6,000 people stood up one after another, raised their hands, and shouted frantically, "Archangel, the only God." Chapter-401-420 Secret. The third update tilde the last chapter. The archangel is a 5-star, it is wrong and has been revised. Close black lens bracket. Archangel, the only God. At the tea party scene, the voices of groups of fanatics continued to resound, and more than half of the people got up from their seats, raised their hands, and shouted loudly. 195 kings, almost all fell, only a few dozen people resisted the invasion of the divine will. What's the situation? Brainwashed. In an instant. Indeed, there was a sudden influx of power just now, bathed in holy light, and unknowingly was engraved with a will. The few sober people were shocked. The tea party is just a conspiracy. No, Yingmu, everyone knows that the dream will do something. Not hold a tea party for no reason, but no one thought it would be so direct and straightforward. In this short period of time, Dream took control of an unimaginably huge force. For now I realize, it's too late. Doflamingo laughed strangely. Once the divine will is inscribed, it cannot be erased unless the archangel dies. This will, the person who is engraved will not feel it, and the daily life is no different, but there will be a supreme belief in the bottom of the heart, that is, the only God. 643. Suddenly, a man wearing a crown with a grim face suddenly shouted, "Emperor Qin, what do you mean?" "Huh. Qin Yang raised his eyebrows and looked away. The man said solemnly, "What means did you use?" "Nothing, just for world peace." Qin Yang was too lazy to pay attention to it and said softly, "Then, I announce that the United Nations is officially established. Sabayati Archipelago will become a holy place. The 5 ordinary members of the United Nations are composed of Doflamingo, Nicole Robin, Sengoku the Buddha, Monkey D. Long, and Marco served." Quote. Doflamingo and Nicole Robin are 2 fantastic members who naturally need a spot. As for Sengoku the Buddha, although he is also a dream member, he joined for a short period of time and should not have become a director, but Qin Yang gave Sengoku a director position in order to incorporate Marine, so that he could easily control Marine. Secondly, Monkey D. Long, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, the vanguard of the rebellion against the world government. Now that the world government has perished, Dragon can also become one of the directors. And the last Marco, this one is rather special, was originally intended for Whitebeard, but Whitebeard didn't want to be the director, so he named Marco. Qin Yang agreed after considering it. The 5 permanent members represent Dream, Marine, Revolutionary Army, Pirates, and Marine, Revolutionary Army, Pirates. Qin Yang all have enough influence, which is equivalent to Dream can easily control the United Nations behind the scenes, without spending much energy to manage, is a very appropriate way. Of course, it doesn't matter if it's suitable or not. Dream has already dominated, and no one dares to accept it. Even if Qin Yang messed up, the whole world could only recognize him by pinching his nose. However, when they heard the names of the 5 directors, the people at the scene were still sluggish. Forget the first few. What does Marco mean? No, Sengoku has already retired, and now he will be a director. Why can the Revolutionary Army become a member of the United Nations, and it is also a permanent member? Those who can speak like this are all people who have resisted the divine will, and those who have been engraved with their will not have any objection at all. For any dissatisfaction can be raised in the UN Parliament and we can discuss it properly. Doflamingo couldn't help laughing. By the way, any permanent director has absolute veto power. If there is a disagreement between the permanent directors, then it will be decided by the only God. Heck, what kind of rogue power is this? Several kings scolded secretly in their hearts. Although the power of the Gorosei, 5 elders in the original world government was huge, they still took care of the government's face, and they would not be so direct and domineering. The fact that the permanent director of the United Nations has such rogue authority is even more uncomfortable than it was during the Gorosei, 5 elders. It is foreseeable that the future world will be dominated by these 5 rogues. Moreover, above the 5 rogues, the dream is high above, like a god. However, no matter how dissatisfied they were in their hearts, no one was stupid enough to provoke them, otherwise they would only be slaughtered as an example, so one person kept his mouth shut. Seeing this, Qin Yang nodded with satisfaction, then looked at the pirates and said, "Let's put the matter of the United Nations aside for the time being. Next, about the history of the route." As soon as these words came out, many pirates suddenly came to the spirit. "Qin Emperor, is what you said true? You gathered 4 red stones. Instead of looking for Rahudal, you want to share. What is your purpose? I don't believe it. You dream of being selfless enough to share the map." The major pirate groups, one by one, asked aloud. Qin Yang's expression was as usual, his eyes narrowed, and in an instant, a huge power enveloped the heads of this group of people. Boom! Everyone only felt the eardrum vibrate, and the whole person's soul seemed to be shaken. "Quiet," Doflamingo snorted coldly and said, "If you interrupt at will, I will throw you out." Then everyone shut up and looked at Qin Yang. Qin Yang snapped his fingers, and Nico Robin immediately walked onto the stage with a thick stack of blueprints. "You big pirates, I'm Nicole Robin." Robin Vivi laughed. "You should know me, I'm probably one of the rarest people in the world who can read ancient texts. A red stone, and based on the coordinates above, I outlined the location of Rahudal. This map is what I have in my hands." With that said, Robin raised hundreds of maps in his hand to signal everyone. I will distribute these maps to everyone. Anyone who is interested in the treasure can go to the treasure hunt. Hearing this, many pirates are still unbelievable. Really, are you guys not interested in big secret treasures? Why in the end, I can't understand what you're doing. That's right, who knows if this is a trap? Dream used the red stone to suppress hundreds of pirate groups. Many people here know this, so they are very alert at this moment. He he he. Chin Yong chuckled twice, got up slowly, walked to Robin's side, took the stack of maps, and then suddenly swayed it out. If you want, just pick it up. Back then, Roger buried everything in the world there. Power, fame, wealth, status, everything you want is in Lahoodle. The pirates who were still on guard a moment ago, saw the map spilling out, and everyone moved. Like mad dogs, they flocked to the map of the sky, reaching out one by one, trying to grab a copy. It's mine. Mine, don't rob me. Whether it's true or not. Get the map. The tea party was a riot, and even if there were fantasy people standing on the stage, the battle would inevitably break out. Chin Yong looked at everything playfully and did not stop it. Grab it, go find it, the time to reveal the final secret is coming soon. For most, the secret is 100 years of blank history, the great secret of One Piece, King of Pirates. But for Chin Yong, secrets are the source of this world. Either way, it's in Lahoodle. Chapter 0413-C of the Forbidden Zone. Still sore and sweaty, it is estimated that this will be the case in the next week. I went to someone for a massage before, but unfortunately there was no use for ORZ close black lens bracket. There are hundreds of maps flying all over the sky, scattered in the tea party. Almost all the pirates started working together. They shouted in disbelief, but their actions were surprisingly consistent. In short, whether true or false, the map must be obtained first. Luffy, let's grab one too. Nami's eyes lit up and she said with great excitement, oh, the treasure, how much wealth will it have? Don't. In this regard, Straw Hat Luffy looked calm and shook his head. I want to find the great secret treasure of One Piece, King of Pirates. I will find it myself, I don't want to use a map. That kind of adventure is meaningless. Idiot, everyone has a map now, and by the time we find it, the big secret treasure has already been taken away. Nami said angrily. Then there is no way. The Straw Hat scratched his head, still not intending to fight. However, one of the maps flying in the sky quietly flew to the top of the Straw Hats. Sanji grabbed it and got one. I am lucky, I flew over by myself. If you don't want it, it's better to throw it out. Zoro's face was solemn, and he stood up and drew his sword. He fixed his eyes on the surroundings, and saw that many people had already gathered around. Luffy. Everyone looked at the Straw Hat, waiting for his decision. However, the rest of the pirates have no such patience. Although there are many maps, it is impossible for everyone to have one, so they still have to rely on robbing. What do you think? In the tea party, the Straw Hats are relatively easy targets to bully. Who will they not rob? Hand over the map. A man with a machete sneered. What nonsense. This is the Straw Hat Pirates, but it's just a supernova pirates, not worth mentioning. Another masked man spoke with disdain, and while speaking, he had already launched an attack on Sanji. He kicked it away, and armament hockey instantly wrapped around it, and the entire right leg, like a whip, was whipped away suddenly. Seeing this, Sanji immediately spit out the cigarette butt. Find the frame that came to the door, I'll accompany you. With that said, he threw the map to Frankie and walked away to face the opponent's attack. Boom. Sanji's expression changed at the moment of the collision between kick users. He only felt that his right foot was raised on a piece of steel, and with a click, the bones were shattered. With a muffled sound, Sanji was kicked away, breaking 5 or 6 tables and chairs. HMPH, a guy who doesn't even know hockey dares to come to a place like this. If you want to show your prestige here, let's practice for another 100 years. The masked man snorted coldly, and then suddenly looked at Frankie. It's not good. I think it's better for us to hand over the map. Frankie's expression froze. You bastard. At this moment, the Straw Hat Luffy shot angrily, take the map if you want, but if you hit Sanji, I can't forgive you. Ha ha ha, a little pirate, really dare to speak up. Rog, you go grab the map, I will teach them a lesson. I see. Machete Man smirked, his eyes locked on Frankie, if you don't want to get hurt, give me the map. Similar scenes were happening all over the tea party. All the pirates were involved in the battle for the map. Hawkeye sat, drinking black tea, looking at the map in his hand. Is it that sea area? There should be nothing in that place. Vio also grabbed a copy. He stared at the red dot on the map with a heavy face. It's not fake, right? That place. Beastmaster Ryan also got one, but he did not rush to see it, but stared at the Dream and others on the stage, thinking about the other party's purpose for doing so. Could it be that this guy wants to lure a pirate and find Lahoodle for him? Even if there is a map, it can only be deduced like this. With the power of fantasy, it is easy to play a peach-picking scene. Humph. Ryan hummed inwardly and looked down at the map. After a look, he couldn't help but be startled. It's actually here. On the other side, a relatively quiet corner. Boya Marigold got a map and gave it to the Empress, saying, Sister, this map should be fake, right? How can there be islands in the sea of restricted areas? The Empress stared at the map, blinked her eyes, and said softly, No, it's true, how could it be fake in the identity of Emperor Qin? Are we going to have a look? Sandersonia asked hesitantly. Go, the concubine is curious, what did they want to do? Empress Vivi Isho put away the map, and said, however, before that, go see them with your concubine. Saying that, she immediately walked towards the stage. On the stage, Heilong suddenly opened his eyes, and he noticed the movement of the Empress across 100 meters. After a little hesitation, his body moved and immediately vacated. Stupid dragon. The queen saw the sea dragon flying and stopped immediately. Little girl, no, you've grown up too, so it's not appropriate to call you a little girl again. Heilong looked down at the Empress and said, Hancock, Benlong, forget it, take a step to speak. Said, Heilong flicked the dragon's tail, swooped away, stretched out his claws, and took the Empress away. Sister, elder sister. The two younger sisters were dumbfounded. At the same time, somewhere in the merchant's seat, the fruit transformer Robert Vivi bent over and grabbed a small spider from the ground. The spider crawled into his palm, and the eight-legged Vivi shook, carving a simple map. It turned out to be in a place like this. He hesitated for a moment, then suddenly realized, it's really possible, that sea area, even in the New World, is very special. The whole tea party has become extremely chaotic. Marine, the Revolutionary Army, Shichibukai, etc. all got the blueprints and were surprised by the locations marked on the map. Qinyong had a panoramic view of everything, and secretly said in his heart, I don't know, how did Kaido and the others find it? New World, further ahead of the Whitebeard Sea, is the Sea of the Forbidden Zone. This is a sea area very close to East Blue, and there is only a windless belt between East Blue. At this moment, there is a large fleet of pirates sailing above this sea area. With strong winds and waves, lightning and thunder, this sea area is full of strangeness. It seems to be a labyrinth. All ships entering this area will always linger within a certain range. Captain Kaido, we have been looking for 7 days and 7 nights. Normally, we have already walked out of this sea area, but according to the signals we left, we have been spinning in place. On the main ship, the Flood Monkey said helplessly, the marine life force I controlled just disappeared all of a sudden. I don't know what happened. Locust Plague suddenly said solemnly, the big wave is coming. Several people looked at them intently, and their expressions changed. I saw a huge wave hundreds of meters high, coming from a great distance, mighty and mighty. Ha ha ha, it's really a frightening ocean. The sea in front of you is like a picture scroll, rolled up. Kaido stood on the bow, laughing in the storm. Suddenly, his smile stopped and his eyes narrowed. His pupils turned bloody, and his eyesight suddenly doubled. He could see that there was a ship the size of a sesame, riding the wind and waves, above the receding ocean. Big Mom, damn it! As soon as the voice fell, suddenly, a melodious roar sounded as if it was some kind of supergiant creature. The sound came from under the sea, through the sea, spread all over the place, mixed in the storm, especially strange. What? Chapter-401-420 5000 meters behemoth _ Second update tilde my hands hurt so much, fuck. I'm so desperate TT. What? On the deck of the main ship, Kaido and the others changed color. The roar of a whale. No, that sound, some kind of wind. Undersea creatures. Observation hockey ca and perceive. Water monkey, go check it out. The expressions of a group of people seemed a bit dignified, but it was because this sea area was too strange. With such a clear and audible melodious voice, the estimated distance should be less than a kilometer, but observation hockey couldn't sense the breath of any living creature. Kaido frowned, staring at the surging waves ahead. The ocean is like a picture scroll, rolling up waves hundreds of meters high, and the waves come in mighty waves. At its peak, there is a ship. How come Big Mom is here? They should have entered this sea area from another area impossible to meet. Huh. Kaido thought to himself, and suddenly frowned. His ghost pupil vision was stretched to the limit, but he was shocked to find that on the top of the wave, the Big Mom ship suddenly disappeared at a certain moment. What? Kaido was taken aback. What happened? Gone. Haki immediately radiated out, and in an instant, he sensed everything within a radius of 10,000 meters, but he could no longer detect the breath of Big Mom. What the hell? At this moment, Kaido felt that he was wrong. After all, at such a long distance, the possibility of wrong is also possible. But the next second, the melodious, ancient creature's chirping sounded again. Woo! There was some kind of vibration in the sound, which lasted for about 4 or 5 seconds, and then faded away. Boom! Lightning flashed, and above the dark sky, the thunderclouds accumulated strength, and lightning bolts fell. The storm became more and more violent, and it seemed to blow all the ships sailing at sea to collapse and disintegrate. It's bad, boat, shouted the drought. Go ahead and you'll be killed by the waves. No, before then the storm will overturn the boat. The flood monkey looked towards the main mast, and heard a screeching sound, followed by a sting of the sail, which was torn apart by the storm. The next moment, Kaido's large fleet shook violently on the turbulent ocean. After struggling for 3 or 5 minutes, it was directly overturned by a wave. And at the same time as the pirate fleet was annihilated, in the direction of the hundreds of meters of huge waves, in the storm, a huge black shadow loomed. Great Route, Sabayati Archipelago. 7. Open Air Tea Party. Except for more than 6,000 people who entered the venue, there were nearly 100,000 people who were turned away. So many people, gathered outside the tea party, almost packed the entire number 7 area. Captain Kidd is also the Supernova Pirates. Why can the Straw Hats get in? The pirates shouted in dissatisfaction under the collapsed alchemy tree. Shut up, I don't want to be heard by dreamy people, it's not good to get in trouble. Another pirate snorted, there are so many forces gathered here, and if you bump into anyone, chances are stronger than us. I see it's already going strong inside and it's all vying for the map of Lahoodle. A group of pirates, talking to each other, were very hot about the map that Dream came up with. Only Captain Kidd, sitting on a rock, had a grim expression on his face. Kidd's full name is Eustace Kidd, 21 years old, with a red spiky head, wearing a dagger and a pistol on his chest, wearing goggles and a dark red coat. Consistent with the image, he is a very brutal pirate, the first person in this year's supernova. He sat on the rocks, his head bowed, wondering what he was thinking. Suddenly, a shadow appeared in his eyes. Kid looked up. Vivi frowned. You're from the Heart Pirates. Trafalgar Law. The young man with the hat said. Eustace is in charge. I'll just say it straight. You also want drawings. Do you want to join forces with me? Joining forces. Kid grinned and sneered. You want to go in? The Dream Pirates? No, it's not a pirate anymore. Will the Dream Society allow it? They set up a fence outside, and the people who destroyed will be killed. As long as you don't break the fence, don't you? Luovivi Isho raised his right hand. The next moment, a transparent space slowly opened. Room. In this abrupt space, a small stone exchanged spatial positions with a fallen leaf. Seeing this, Kid's eyes narrowed, and he immediately grinned. For the sake of the map, let's join forces. And at this moment, with a bang, a black dragon flew out from the sky above the tea party, flying over the heads of countless people. Ocean Master. What does he want to do? A bipedal polar bear murmured. He has a woman in his hand. That's the Empress. Luo raised his head and frowned. What are they going to do? This kind of thing doesn't matter, the map matters. Kid snorted coldly and said, besides, move fast. Do you think that nothing will happen after there are so many people gathered here? You mean? Luo asked suspiciously. Dream is now the master of this world. Just like the world government, it will not allow the era of the great pirates to continue. People who know this will do nothing. Kid got up and walked towards the tea party. Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and get the blueprints. Let's go. Not to mention the big riot inside and outside the tea party. The sea dragon grabbed the Empress and flew out of the Sabayati archipelago and came to the sea. Let go of the concubine, stupid dragon. The Empress was pinched by the sea dragon and felt uncomfortable. Are you sure? It's the ocean below. You, the capable person, go down and seek death. The sea dragon lowered its dragon head and stared at the Empress in its claws. In response, the Empress was helpless. What do you want to do when you bring your concubine to a place like this? Don't worry, I won't do anything to you, but Benlong also has a headache. Heilong said calmly. What's your name is bad, why do you want to be called Empress? The title of Emperor is the only one. Lord Qin Emperor has never dealt with you, so the reason is complicated. Stop pretending to be garlic. The Empress snorted softly. You can deceive others, but you can't hide your concubine. You and Emperor Qin are the same person, maybe a clone. It's not uncommon for someone who is capable to have a clone. With Emperor Qin's strength, of course you can. It can be done, and, at the beginning, you told your concubine your name Qin Yang. Hearing this, Heilong was speechless. He did say so, when he first came to this world and his dreams were not established. I always thought that the Empress had forgotten, but I didn't expect this woman to remember clearly by then. I am really sorry, but it just happens to have the same surname as Lord Qin Emperor. Do you think your concubine will believe it? Queen's eyes flashed, and a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. My concubine will help you keep the secret, but there is a condition. Huh. The concubine is very fond of your dreams, let the concubine join in. The Empress said very directly. Heilong couldn't help rolling his eyes. This woman will also have trouble, and she is trying to figure out how to fool her. At this moment, a roar came. It was a roar from the deep sea, and then, the calm sea became extremely turbulent. A huge black shadow slowly rushed out of the water. It was a very huge beast. The giant beast looks like a whale, with a body length of more than 5,000 meters. Roar. A loud roar alarmed the entire Sabayati archipelago, which was comparable to the sea kings of the island, so huge that it was shocking. Especially from a high altitude, it is almost the same size as the Sabayati archipelago. Sea Dragon and the Empress were startled together. This is Poseidon. Sea Dragon's eyes narrowed. Who moved Sea King? Chapter-401-5-Sea King, Poseidon. The third update. Please ask for some flowers. I hope that before the end of the pirates, the flowers can break 1 million, thank you. Close black lens bracket. with a body length of more than 5,000 meters, looks like an island from a high altitude. It looks like a whale, with an incomparably huge mouth, as if it can swallow a hill in one bite. This is... The Empress was stunned and murmured in surprise, such a huge sea king. The sea kings are a few meters long, and there are also hundreds of thousands of kilometers, but if they reach 5 kilometers, this is already a monster level, and a deep-sea monster that has lived for an unknown number of years. This is the power of Poseidon, the Sea King, who was summoned by her. Sea Dragon said calmly, and there are more than one, there are several, which are coming. As soon as his voice fell, he saw the sea water in the 3 sea areas to the south, west, and north of Sabayati archipelago surging frantically, and 3 incomparably huge sea kings broke out of the sea. Ancient weapon, Sea King Poseidon. The Empress was startled and stared down blankly. 4 sea monsters with a body length of 5,000 meters surrounded Sabayati archipelago. What did they want to do? The Empress whispered, is it trying to trouble you? Now that Dream is holding a tea party on the island, it appears at this time, and the first reaction is of course to Dream. Who knows? However, Neptune has not awakened and cannot control her power. She suddenly summoned this deep-sea beast, which should be stimulated by the outside world. Heilong is very calm. Seeing this, the Empress also relaxed and turned to say, you said, Sea King is a human. As of now, it doesn't matter if I tell you, the Sea King is a mermaid, and the mermaid princess Shirahoshi. Seeing that the 4 giant beasts seemed to be about to attack Sabayati archipelago, the sea dragon immediately swooped down and flew towards the opponent. Roar! The dragon's roar resounded, and a warning was unreservedly passed on. The huge dragon's might is like a substance, shrouding the body of the 4 giant beasts. Why are you here? Hearing Heilong's questioning, the 4 giant beasts turned their gazes over. As marine creatures, the aura emanating from sea dragons far exceeds them. It's like a subject meets a king, it's a class gap. I am the master of the ocean, tell me why you are here. Hearing that, one of the giant moray eel beasts with zebra patterns made a special sound, which was not a human language, but a special communication method of sea beasts. Of course Heilong can understand. So that's the case, then you can rest assured that this generation's Sea King has a fate with my dreams, and she will be safe and sound. You should step back. Another huge sea beast similar to a dragon opened its mouth and let out a sound. This, Heilong snorted coldly and said, Sabayati archipelago is a new, holy land, I think you have high wisdom, this dragon will not kill you, and will not appear in this sea in the future. As for Shirahoshi, Lord Qin Emperor loves her very much. Benlong will also keep her safe. Hearing this, the 4 giant beasts looked at each other, then nodded to Qin Yang, and slowly returned to the bottom of the sea. The Empress watched the whole scene, she couldn't help blinking her eyes at this moment and asked, can you communicate with them? This dragon is the dragon of the ocean. Any marine creature can communicate with one another. What did they say? They wanted to destroy the Sabayati archipelago and take Shirahoshi, but I just drank it back. Heilong raised his eyebrows and said softly, someone is trying to get Shirahoshi's attention, it seems that we need to deal with it. Is that so? Empress Vivi Isho said, then go back to the topic just now, let the concubine also join the dream. Why do you want to join? Heilong asked back. Curiosity killed the cat, woman. Hearing this, the Empress gritted her teeth, and after a moment of silence, she said, your concubine's past, with your abilities, should be very clear. Tenryubito has perished. Maybe you didn't mean it, but you did help the concubine. Pause, she sighed. Before I met you, I never knew that the world noble Tenryubito, like ordinary humans, would die easily. I am very grateful to you, so I want to join you. I also want to repay you in some way. Quote. Hearing this, Heilong couldn't help but stunned, and then laughed. Ha, I don't see it, you can say such a thing. Slightly, the concubine wants to join you, do you agree or not? Join if you say you want to join, how much will I lose face? Heilong thought for a while, then smiled. Let's give you a few tests first. The queen was speechless. She is not good at words and wants to repay her kindness, but she can't think of the right way. After thinking about it, she finally wants to join Dream and become a member of it, and she will always have the opportunity to report this great kindness. If it were an ordinary person, this kind of thing would be very clear, but she didn't know how to lower her posture at all. Of course, there are also reasons why Dream's status is too high and Emperor Qin is too cold and arrogant. All in all, the reason why the Empress is called Empress is probably one of the reasons. It seems too clumsy to even want to repay a kindness. At the same time, when the 4 giant ocean beasts appeared, Qin couldn't help frowning at the tea party. Who's playing Shirahoshi's idea? It's the supergiant sea kings that cry out. Someone must be targeting Shirahoshi. Shirahoshi is the Sea King Poseidon. This matter has not been spread, and no one should know about it except for a few high-level officials of Ryugu Castle. Looking at the audience at the moment, in the king's seat area, Qin did not see Shirahoshi's figure. Did you take Shirahoshi away while the pirates robbed the map and caused a riot? Naive. Qin was disdainful in his heart, and didn't bother to ask Neptune, who was bewildered. He turned his eyes and looked at Gilgamesh. Seeing this, Gilgamesh immediately focused and calculated the past. Omniscient and almighty Star's calculation ability can easily calculate the result. 10 minutes ago, the former Shichibukai, gluttonous, Hino used the Tuntun fruit to capture Shirahoshi. According to calculations, I am afraid that Blackbeard also participated. Swallowing the fruit, it is rumored that it can swallow a sea area and take away a Shirahoshi with a body length of 20 meters, of course there is no problem 160. Knowing the result, Qin immediately closed his eyes and felt the radiation of the entire Sabayati archipelago. After a while, he locked onto the target. Stupid people who think they can succeed. Qin took one step forward, and the figure disappeared in an instant. Outside the tea party, at the border of Area 7, near Area 6, a man wearing a large cape was escaping quickly. Ziahaha, did you succeed? Suddenly, there was a loud laugh from above the Alchiman mangrove tree. Of course, the man in the cape said coldly, who do you think I am? I just quietly took a mermaid away. However, now that it has been exposed, Poseidon's power is really terrible, and he even summoned him in one breath. 4 deep-sea monsters. Then let's go quickly, being noticed by others will cause trouble. A figure jumped down from a height, officially Blackbeard. However, at this moment, before the two had time to take a step, a figure suddenly appeared. Go, where? Qin looked at the two lightly, do you mind if I give you a ride? Go to hell. Qin Emperor. The two suddenly changed color, and their bodies subconsciously tensed. Give Neptune Poseidon no, hand over Shirahoshi. Qin was too lazy to talk nonsense, looked at Heinel, and said, fortunately, you don't have the intention to kill, otherwise the power of the holy light left in her body would be enough to kill you. Do you think that I am against Poseidon? Will there be no protection? Chapter 0416 Are you worthy of being a dog too? Do you think I have no protection for Poseidon? Qin looked at Heinel and spoke indifferently. As early as 9 years ago, when he went to absorb Treasure Tree Eve, in order to make up for the loss of Fishman Island, he injected a holy light into Princess Shirahoshi's body. If someone has the intention to kill, the holy light will be activated, which is equivalent to a blow from the 4 emperors. It is also a loss that Heinel just wanted to arrest people and did not have the intention to kill, otherwise he would have already died. How do you know about Poseidon? Heinel was shocked. Blackbeard's complexion also changed greatly. Dream not only knew about the existence of Poseidon, but even had already done a good job. When? Blackbeard said through gritted teeth. When? The boring question, of course, from the beginning. I knew it before you were born. Even if you don't know it, you can guess it by looking at the historical text of Fishman Island. Qin snorted coldly and said, it's just the two of you. knowing that Shirahoshi is the Sea King makes me a little impressed. Logically, the two people were able to know Shirahoshi's identity, probably because Fishman Island itself leaked. Damn, Heinel was annoyed and looked at Blackbeard fiercely. It's all you idiot, it wouldn't be so troublesome when you started directly on Fishman Island. Blackbeard's face was ashen, but he was not in the mood to fight with the other party. I'll hold him back, you go first with someone. Be quick, the rest of the Dream members will catch up soon. He said this not because of his selfless dedication, but because of his inescapable, dreamy shadow demon who could lock his position at any time. Considering this, Blackbeard could only stay and let Heinel escape first. There was nothing wrong with his idea, though, but Heinel clearly didn't appreciate it. HMPH, I won't play with you anymore. Heinel snorted angrily and immediately opened his mouth. His mouth was like a black hole, and with a swish, Princess Shirahoshi was spit out, and then his body quickly returned to its original shape, turning into a body of 20 meters in a blink of an eye. Emperor Qin, I don't know the relationship between you and the Sea King. Those who don't know are innocent people. I will give it back to you. I hope you can let me go. Qin Yang was noncommittal about this, but looked at Princess Shirahoshi, who was about to cry, and said with a chuckle, Are you afraid? Lord Qin Emperor. Princess Shirahoshi had tears in her eyes, as if trying not to let herself cry. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Qin Yang said calmly, then looked at Blackbeard. It's a pity that you ended up in my hands. I wanted to leave you to Whitebeard, but unfortunately, Whitebeard failed to catch you. Then I will end your ambitions. Wait. It was a matter of life, and Blackbeard immediately trembled and knelt down with a thud. Qin Emperor, what kind of person are you? Don't get to know me. I didn't know that Poseidon was your person, otherwise he would never do anything. Get around me, once. Put away your acting skills, a heroic character like you. Kneel and beg for mercy now, and you can stab in the back in the next second. Qin Yang walked over, slowly approaching the opponent. Blackbeard lowered his head, his face changed, and finally he gritted his teeth and slapped it out while Qin Yang approached. You forced me. Dark water. In the roar, a black vortex appeared in the palm of his hand. This palm hit Qin Yang, but Heinel, who was on the side of Blackbeard, changed slightly. He felt his body, as if being pulled by a force, move towards the black vortex in his palm. Zia ha ha ha. Crazy laughter sounded. Blackbeard's left hand turned over, a paw was placed on his wrist, and the moment Qin Yang approached, he grabbed it suddenly. He used the dark water to lock on Qin Yang, sucked and pulled the opponent close, and at the same time hit his ultimate move, slapped it with one paw, aiming at Qin Yang's neck. In this regard, Qin Yang did not dodge or evade, and let the attack come. Huh. Seeing this, Blackbeard felt a bad feeling in his heart. He swept away his claws, but repeatedly hit the air, penetrating Qin Yang's neck. What? I heard that your constitution is unique, so I'll have a little knowledge about it. Qin Yang said softly, and at the same time his right hand shot out like lightning. Puff. A palm suddenly pierced into Blackbeard's Shang chamber. His fruit ability, armament hockey, all failed at the moment of contact, and his body was pierced by a single blow. You are no different from ordinary people, you only have one heart. Qin Yang raised his eyebrows, surprised. He knew that Blackbeard could have the ability to have two fruits. It was rumored that the other party had two hearts, but now it seems that this is not the case. Ah! Blackbeard vomited blood, only to feel powerless, and his consciousness began to blur. Don't kill me. I can be like Doflamingo, be your dog. Don't kill me. Dog, you are also worthy of being my vicious dog waiting for the gate. Qin Yang dismissed it, inserting it into the opponent's right hand, and a trace of thunder and lightning appeared. In an instant, the lightning flashed, and after the crackling lightning, Blackbeard's body suddenly froze. His hair stood on end, smoldering in black smoke, and fell straight back. With a bang, a generation of heroes died here before they could look into the future. Qin Yang's thought moved, and the blood-stained right palm suddenly flickered with brilliance, and the blood on the palm disappeared instantly. After doing this, he looked at Heinel. Don't kill me, I was just bewitched by Blackbeard. Heiner shivered nervously. I knew that Emperor Qin was terrifying, but I never imagined that Blackbeard would die in just one face-to-face meeting. What a dark fruit. Armament hockey, in the face of fantasy annihilation, it is not worth mentioning. Want to live? Think. Then give you a chance. The Blackbeard pirates, in addition to Blackbeard, there are several members, you go and kill them, if you can't finish. Qin Yang was ready to use the waste. He was too lazy to hunt down a few small characters, but there was someone in front of him who could run errands. No problem. It's just a few remnants. I will definitely take off their heads and dedicate them to Lord Qin. Heinel hurriedly agreed. Why don't you go away? Yes, I'll get out now. Heinel nodded quickly, for fear that Qin Yang would return, he turned and ran. Deep down in his heart, he already hated Blackbeard. He was this idiot who didn't even investigate the intelligence well, so he got into the dream and let him walk between life and death. Immediately, he made up his mind. After returning home, he immediately summoned his subordinates to uproot the Blackbeard pirates, lest Dream would turn back and kill him. The man leave, Qin Yang looked at Shirahoshi. Are you afraid? No, thank you Lord Qin Emperor. Shirahoshi stared blankly at Blackbeard's corpse and shook his head softly. Really? Well then, let's go. Qin Yang chuckled, go back to your father. Shirahoshi was young, and the fish tail had not yet split, but at the moment he wanted to leave, but he had a tangled expression on his face. At this moment, Doflamingo ran over quickly. Lord Qin Emperor. You came just in time, take Shirahoshi back. Yes. Suddenly, Qin Yang said, how is the situation over Kaido? The information just came in that Kaido's fleet was wiped out. Chapter-401-420 Second update Tilda suddenly found, 1.01 million words of ORZ. Kaido's fleet has been wiped out. Hearing Qin Yang's question, Doflamingo replied without hesitation, the information just came, just a few minutes ago. Huh, the whole army was wiped out. Qin Yang was stunned, what's the situation? The specific situation is unknown. Doflamingo shook his head. We have 2 undercover agents in Kaido's fleet. When we finally contacted, the other party said, tsunami, storm, the roar of the monster, and then there was no sound. Pause, he continued. In that sea area, storms are very common, and even snow and wind often appear. It is difficult for ordinary ships to sail, but Kaido is the 4th emperor, and it will not be finished so easily. I see. Qin Yang nodded and turned to ask, what about Big Mom's situation? I don't know. From their side, no message came. Disconnected. Qin Yang pondered that the situation of Big Mom is not optimistic either. The 2 pioneers didn't seem to have much to gain, not to mention the island, and even the point on the map was not found. It doesn't matter, I'll go there in person. Thinking of this, Qin Yang immediately ordered, when the tea party is over, start preparing for the voyage. Yes. In fact, Qin Yang could let the Archangel fly directly over, but even if he found that point, he might not be able to find Lahoodle. Even if he found Lahoodle, if he wanted to land, he needed another method. That being the case, fortunately, the big pirates of the New World were launched to help him find it. This is also one of the purposes of this tea party. Even if the pirates know that Dream has such a plan, they will obediently go there. After all, the existence of the big secret treasure is enough to make people crazy. Immediately, Qin Yang returned to the tea party. The riots continued at the tea party. The pirates' competition for the map has heated up. If it weren't for the existence of Dream and others, they would be afraid to overturn the tea party. And many kings dispersed early to avoid this group of lunatics. Some pirate groups that had already obtained the map also left quietly, preparing to go to the target sea area in the New World. However, this is only the beginning. There are hundreds of maps, and it is not something that cannot be copied. Soon someone shared Lahoodle's coordinates. In this way, there is no need to compete for the map, and almost everyone has one, and everyone can know the location. In this regard, Qin Yang secretly said that it is a pity, he still wants these pirates to beat to death, consume each other, and watch the show. However, in any case, the purpose of the tea party has been achieved. The pirates who got the map left the Sabayati archipelago and went to the New World to explore the location of the great treasure. And many kings were arranged to the United Nations building to hold the first United Nations conference and elect 20 members. Many other businessmen, singers, etc., were entertained by the Don Quixote family. These people also wanted to take a share of the new order, and of course they would target the Doflamingo family. When everyone left, only a few dozen people remained in the end. The high-level revolutionary army, several billion-level pirates among the pirates, as well as several Shichibukai such as Hawkeye, Empress, and Hexia. Qin Emperor, you left us alone, what do you want to say? Glancing across the crowd, Hawkeye was the first to be unable to bear the silence and said, It's not a big deal, I just want to give a special order. Qin Yang sat on the high chair and said with a chuckle, before today, the world was curious, what is the new order, how will it be established, and in what form? Now you all know it, but now I want to it's the exact opposite. Having said this, he paused and smiled. The new order. It doesn't matter how this kind of thing is, if I have to say it, I will wait for the order. What? Several pirates narrowed their eyes, feeling unhappy. Of course, it's just unpleasant, it can only be hidden in my heart, and I dare not show it. Marine, you continue to uphold your justice. Marshal Akainu, your immediate boss is still Sengoku, and he will continue to lead you. Revolutionary Army, the free world you seek can only be established by yourself. How to do it, how to do it. The United Nations will give you a channel of communication. As for the great pirates, great captains, and great admirals, I advise you, you can retire. The era of great pirates started by Gul D. Roger is about to come to an end. Get a few partners and grab a big ship, and you can the era of doing whatever you want at sea is over. Quote. Qin Yang's tone was calm, and everyone could not hear the joy or anger. Finally, the Shichibukai system, abolished from today, has gone through 3 generations of Shichibukai. This is a useless organization. Now that the era of the great pirates is coming to an end, Shichibukai, the king, has no need to exist. Hearing this, Hawkeye, Hexia, and the Empress remained calm and were not surprised by this result. I've finished what I have to say. What else do you want to ask? At the end, Qin Yang said, if you just ask me, what will the dream be like? It's unnecessary, I'm waiting for the dream, it's like a dream, everywhere, everywhere. After hearing these words, dozens of people on the scene were silent. No one spoke, it seemed that there was nothing to ask, and it seemed that even if they asked, they could not get an answer. Finally, the Empress broke the silence. Emperor Qin, what is the assessment of a concubine? The concubine had a conversation with Heilong, about the assessment of the concubine joining. The queen said softly, if you don't go and be your emperor well, what are you waiting for? Qin Yang shook his head, deliberately not wanting to answer. Before coming here, the concubine was ready to abdicate. Empress Vivi Isho said, as a repayment for your kindness, the concubine also knows your difficulties. From today, the name of the Empress will be abandoned, and the concubine will only have a name, Boya Hancock. The Emperor is the only one. After listening to Heilong's words earlier, the Empress Hancock had already decided to give up the name of Empress. Emperor Qin did not embarrass her. After she found out, she also took the initiative to give up the name Empress. Besides, she no longer intends to be the emperor, so naturally she does not need the title of Empress. Hearing this, Qin Yang was a little stunned, then shook his head and said, well, give up the name of the Empress and ask to join me. Yes, then I will give you the first test to find Lahoodle. Hearing this, Hancock was at a loss for words. Although you know that the assessment is definitely not easy, is the first assessment an almost impossible task? What? Chinyong said jokingly, do you want to give up? No, the concubine knows. Hancock gritted his teeth and nodded sullenly. Yes, at last you are more comfortable than you were before. Chinyong got up with a chuckle and glanced at everyone. Then, this tea party is over. With that said, the other dozen or so dream members got up one after another. The next moment, above everyone's heads, an illusory world came. Phantom is coming. Everyone looked at this different world and fell into a sluggishness. Everyone, see you in Lahoodle, goodbye. As soon as the voice fell, Chinyong and a group of phantom bodies flashed together and disappeared into the phantom world. Lahoodle. Chapter-401-420 of Wonder. The world-famous tea party came to an end. The establishment of the United Nations, the only God Archangel, 5 permanent directors, 20 member states, 195 member countries, such a huge international organization, is a new era and a new order. This is an organization created by the Dream, replacing the functions of the world government and becoming the defender of the new order. The former Marine became a subordinate army of the United Nations, and was directly led by one of the permanent members, Sengoku the Buddha. Monkey D. Long, one of the permanent members. The 20 council members sent a total of 100,000 elite soldiers to form a UN peacekeeping force under the direct jurisdiction of Doflamingo. At this point, a new army was born, and the commander-in-chief of the army was the only god, Angel. Within a week after the Tea Party, relevant information about the United Nations spread around the world at the speed of a bird. Of course, more remarkable than the United Nations is the map leading to Lahoodle. I don't know who printed the coordinates on the map directly on the newspaper, exposing the coordinates to the world at once. This time, it wasn't just those big pirates who attended the Tea Party, but countless pirates from the New World rushed towards the target sea area. Even some bounty hunters, private armed forces, and maritime escort forces supported by large caravans all want to join forces. The goal is the big secret treasure. The legacy of One Piece, King of Pirates. Find it and you can get everything. Under various slogans, hundreds of thousands of people sailed to Lahoodle in seaboats. New Marine Headquarters, Marineford. Above the ruins of the destroyed building, the newly built headquarters building, inside the Marshal's office. Marshal Akainu, now the world's focus is on Lahoodle, should we Marine also take action? A vice admiral stood at the desk and asked solemnly. No, the choice of the new 3 admiral is still a big issue compared to Lahoodle. Akainu said with a headache. Of the 3 admirals now, 1 is gone. The original Kuzan left a few years ago. Kizaru also resigned after the demise of the world government. It is rumored that he retired together with Kuzan, and he did not know where he went. Fujitora submitted a letter of resignation after the establishment of the United Nations, and with the consent of Sengoku, he also left. As for Ryokugyu Admiral, death was at the hands of Ludao Madara. But this kind of bad death certainly can't be counted. In other words, Marine now has 1 marshal and 3 admiral positions, all of which are vacant. Prepare admiral, but compared to Kuzan, Kizaru, and Fujitora, they are still a little worse. Who are the current candidates? A moment of contemplation, Akainu asked Q directly, W. Vice Admiral replied. Momosugi Vice Admiral, Chaton Tokikake, Vice Admiral, Kappa Vice Admiral and Garp Vice Admiral. Forget the first 3, Momosugi is still too young, Chaton Tokikake, and Kappa are even more indebted to Q only Garp. Akainu frowned deeply that Garp Vice Admiral was on indefinite leave and basically never came back as Admiral. It's really a time of failure. There's something wrong with our Marine's system for selecting outstanding officers. Akainu snorted, got up and walked out the door. I'm going to Sabayati Archipelago, see Sengoku, and prepare the warship. Yes, Vice Admiral said helplessly. And what about Rahudal? Idiot. Of course we can't act casually without the approval of the United Nations. However, the Revolutionary Army seems to have troops gone. What? Akainu couldn't help being stunned. Monkey D. Dragon, what does this guy want to do? Can the Archangels agree to his behavior? Agreed. Akainu was speechless for a moment, and said angrily, go and prepare the warship. I want to see Director Sengoku. Everyone is one of the three armies. Why should the Revolutionary Army? No, the Free Army can act, but the Marines can't. Akainu felt that Marines still needed to show a little bit now that the new order was just established. Not to mention Marine's actions, the port of Mysteria. A huge sea ship slowly made its way out of the port and headed towards the sea area where Lahudal was located according to the scheduled route. This is a dream ship, and the people on it are members of a dream peripheral organization. As for the core members of the dream, there is none. At the same time when the big ship was out to sea, a few thousand meters above the sky, a black dragon with a body of 100 meters was flying towards the target sea area at high speed. Above Heilong's head, Qinyang stood quietly, and beside him, a young girl stood. The girl has delicate eyebrows and delicate face. She is in her early 20s and is wearing a long snow-white dress. She is not Nicole Robin, nor Boya Hancock, but Nini Poland. The only Tenryubido surviving today, the toy fruit-powered one. 9 years have passed, and that little girl has grown into a beautiful girl. Qinyang brought her this time because of the opponent's ability, which should be useful for this operation. Lord Qin Emperor. At this moment, Nini said in a low voice, the message from Big Bird, the Island of Miracles, Rahudal has been discovered. Oh, Qinyang raised his eyebrows and asked curiously, how did you find it? Where is it? Indeed at the coordinates. Nini said softly, because it appeared too weird, like a miracle in a storm, so now it has the name of an island of miracles. Specific. Qinyang asked succinctly. The specifics sorry, I don't know, the Big Bird just saw the results. After a big wave, the island appeared. Nini said embarrassedly, at present, the pirates near the island are all looking for a way to land. What is the specific situation? You will know when you arrive. Well, you continue to observe. Yes. Nini is a toy fruit person, and Big Bird is one of the toys, sharing vision with the ability person. Even on the other side of the planet, the picture can be transmitted back, which is similar to the clairvoyant staring at the fruit, but a little more troublesome. In addition to the Big Bird, there are 5 toy abilities, namely the Big Bear, the Big Dog, the Mouse, the Chick, and the last one, the power that is unknown for the time being. Among them, the Mouse is the treasure hunter, which has the power to search for treasures. The Big Bear is a teddy bear with infinite strength and immortality. Although the Big Dog is called a dog, it should be a wolf. It is a speed-type toy and is good at high-speed combat. As for the Chick, Qinyang has never seen her use it, so he doesn't know what it is. Of course, this is not the most powerful place toy fruit, the most powerful is the 6th toy. However, these are not important, what Qinyang needs is a treasure hunter. Sea Dragon, speed up. Roar. The black dragon roared, and with a flick of the dragon's tail, the speed suddenly doubled. A few days later, Qinyang came to the target sea area. Looking down from the sky, you can clearly see that there is a wonderful island on the coordinate position. It really is the island of miracles. It's the first time I've seen this kind of island. Seeing Lahudal, Qinyang couldn't help muttering in surprise. No wonder the redhead says it's alive. Of course it's alive, and like Zo the giant elephant, this island is a creature at all. Chapter 0419 _ Are you calling me? This island is something of a creature. Qinyang stood on top of the sea dragon, looking down at the island of miracles below. It's not so much an island as a mountain rising above the sea. Of course, Qinyang said it was a living thing because the mountain range was not the whole of it. Beneath the sea, there was an incomparably huge black shadow. The 5,000-meter scale supergiant sea kings are amazingly large, but in comparison, the creature in front of them is even more terrifying. The mountain range exposed above the sea is only a part of its body. Like dead, what is this creature? Qin Yang thought to himself, looking down at the sea. His sight seemed to penetrate the sea surface, saw through the light layer, and saw the dark ocean abyss. It's too big, comparable to the 10,000-meter body of a sea dragon. The sea dragon can be transformed into 10,000 meters, but it is a dragon body, winding and winding, and it does not appear to be that huge. But this creature is different. The so-called Rahoodle is just a part of its back. Compared with the giant elephant Zo, it is very different. Thinking of this, Qin Yang swept around the island. Countless pirate ships were docked and anchored in the ocean. According to preliminary estimates, there were at least 700 or 800 pirate ships. They are looking for a way to land? Qin Yang asked. Yes, Lord Qin Emperor. Nini nodded and said, this island is very strange. Once you set foot on the island, you will immediately hear a mysterious singing, and then you will lose consciousness. When he came to his senses, he was already floating on the sea. Quote. Pause, she said again. Especially for those who are capable, this kind of singing has a strong lethal effect. A few days ago, some big pirates tried to force their way in, but they passed out before they walked 100 meters. Quote. So it is. Qin Yang understood, then pondered for a moment, then said, is this some kind of spiritual attack? It is effective on humans. No, on living things. What if it is a robot? Marine has recently developed a humanoid weapon, a pacifist series. Quote. No, someone tried it. Nini shook her head and said, the Vinsmoke family's technology troops have tried it, and the same is true of machines entering the island. In addition, another family's flying boat is trying to invade from the air, but the flying boat is also in the category of machinery. So the failure fell. A few days before Qin Yang arrived here, everyone gathered here tried countless methods, but all failed. It's kind of interesting. Qin Yang raised his eyebrows and said softly, Heilong, go under the sea to see what it is. Hearing this, Heilong flicked the dragon's tail, leaving Qin Yang and the two behind, and then slammed into the sea. Nini screamed, and her figure immediately fell from the air. _Don't panic, feel it for yourself. 7. Qin Yang stood up in the sky, and didn't plan to pull it. $. Hearing this, Nini immediately noticed that there was a platform under her feet that could not be seen by the naked eye, which could support her body. F_P. It's amazing, is this the spiritual power that Sister Robin said? Don't be surprised and land from the sky with me. Qin Yang glanced at her and walked ahead. He walked in the air, and every step he took, a spiritual path was automatically born under his feet, and the spiritual path continued to spread, extending to Rahoodle. Seeing this, Nini followed in fear. At the same time, countless pirates below saw the figure of the sea dragon one after another. The sea dragon slammed into the ocean from an altitude of thousands of meters, setting off a wave. Ocean Master. Sure enough, the dream will also appear. They share the map. It seems that they have long known that if they want to land in Rahoodle, the usual means will not work. Appearing now, did you find a way? Some people are guessing, some people are worried. Dreams have appeared, and if you don't come up with countermeasures quickly, the great secret treasure will fall into the hands of Emperor Qin. At this moment, on an ordinary small sailboat, the 4 Emperor's redhead leaned against the mast, held his head, and squinted for a nap. Boss, the sea dragon has appeared. Big Fat Lackey ran over to report. Sea dragon, as expected. The redhead opened one eye, glanced in the direction of the water splash, and breathed again, saying, this is a place that people miss, but even if it is a dream, it is not easy to find a way. Let me get some sleep. Not to mention the tired and lazy red-haired face, Qin Yang took Nini and approached Rahoodle step by step above the kilometer altitude. At a certain moment, after he stepped on a certain boundary, a melodious sound like the whimper of a mysterious creature suddenly sounded. Woo! Underscore. The voice was thick, sometimes low, sometimes melodious, like some kind of whale roar. Singing. Chin-young was startled. Did you hear it? I heard it, Nini said in surprise. I took a step back and couldn't hear. Lord Chin, it seems that we are standing on a certain boundary. She took a few steps back and forth and came to a conclusion. Chin-young nodded, silent in his heart. This song seems to be telling a story. Chin-young can't understand it, but he can guess a vague meaning. It's like a piano, or a dance, with the story of the performer in it. Without hesitation, Chin-young continued to walk deeper. The more you walk inside, the clearer the singing becomes. After walking 50 meters, Chin-young felt a bit of confusion in his consciousness. It affected me without realizing it. Is this singing hypnotism? Chin-young concentrates, then pats Nini on the head to wake her up. Don't fall asleep. Ah, yes. Nini shuddered. It was like a lullaby that hypnotized me unconsciously. Keep going. Chin-young grabbed her hand, lest the girl really fall down. The two walked a few dozen meters, and suddenly at a certain moment, the singing seemed to be ringing in the ears, as if someone was standing behind and singing in a low voice. Compared with the melodious before, the current singing has become more rapid, and it also conveys a consciousness. Go, leave. The same whimper kept ringing and repeating, like mental pollution. Nini only persisted for 2 seconds, her consciousness began to be lost, and then she fell asleep as soon as her eyes were closed. Hello. Chin-young patted her face and was speechless for a while. Wonderful island, even me can affect it, and it's hell for everyone else. No wonder no one can get in and out of 5.7 meters. He whispered to himself, grabbed Nini, and continued to walk deeper. The singing can only affect him. At most, it can make his reaction slow and make him coma, which is far from enough. Just as Chin-young continued to go deeper, it was thousands of meters below the sea surface. The sea dragon finally saw the whole picture of the mysterious creature. He circled around the creature at the fastest speed, and finally came to the creature's head. The creature's eyes are tight, and it seems to be asleep. There are seaweeds on the eyelids, and many fish shuttle among them. It's a giant tortoise. Sea Dragon couldn't help but be a little surprised. The island above the sea is only a small part of the turtle's back. Is this the true face of Rahoodle? Rahoodle. The moment he heard the name, the giant tortoise, which seemed to have not opened its eyes for 100 years, suddenly opened its eyes. Lahoodle, is it you calling me? Chapter-401-420 from 800 years ago. Second update. Pirates finished the countdown. It is estimated that there are still 3 or 4 days, and I have written more than 1 million words without knowing it. Originally planned to write 800,000 words. Close black lens bracket. Lahoodle, is it you calling me? The deep-sea giant tortoise opened its eyes, and a special sound wave was emitted from its mouth. Of course humans don't understand what it means, but sea dragons can. Just because he understood it, Heilong couldn't help being a little stunned. A startling message can be drawn from the words delivered by the other party. Are you Rahoodle? Heilong said, cruising in front of the giant tortoise, constantly looking at it. Are you calling me? The giant tortoise seems to be senile dementia, still repeating the previous sentence. Can't communicate. Sea Dragon looked at him intently. I am the master of the ocean. What kind of creature are you? Is your name Rahoodle? Ruler of the ocean. There was a hint of confusion in the giant tortoise's eyes, and it took a few minutes before he recovered a little. You're not the promised one, leave. Who is the promised person? Heilong asked. He was very curious about this giant tortoise. This sea area, for this tortoise, was probably a swimming pool. Moreover, it looks like they have lived for at least 1,000 years. You're not a human, let alone that family. The giant tortoise relayed the message intermittently, and after a while, he closed his eyes and fell asleep again. Lahoodle. The sea dragon shouted loudly, and the dragon's roar was like a sonic sword, directly penetrating a distance of hundreds of meters and hitting the ears of the giant tortoise. All kinds of fish floating around the giant tortoise scattered and fled, and even the weaker ones were directly killed by the sound waves. "You're calling me?" Giant tortoise opened his eyes again, but after he finished speaking, there was a hint of confusion. "It seems that I have seen you somewhere." Forgetful. Heilong was stunned. According to legend, fish has 7 seconds of memory. Can this old turtle forget him in an instant? Thinking of this, Heilong gave up his plan to ask questions, and said instead, "What happened 800 years ago? Benlong is not interested. Now Benlong asks you, what is the origin of the world?" The old turtle looked confused. "What do you know about devil fruits?" Heilong felt helpless and had to change his way. Devil fruit. Hearing this word, the old turtle's eyes showed the slightest strangeness. "Clan D. I don't know, you are not that clan. How can you communicate with me? Can you listen to all things? Who are you?" Dementia. Backquote. The sea dragon spit out a few mouthfuls of bubbles, and the dragon whiskers fluttered in the water, obviously a little impatient. "IJ. Carrot." He thought about it and suddenly said, "Old turtle, do you know Roger?" Roger. Roger. The name seemed to arouse the interest of the old turtle. "Yes, Roger, you are the promised person." "No, you are not. You are not human. Forget it, it's really hard to communicate with you." Sea Dragon lost his patience. "The last question, old turtle, how do you get into Rahudal?" "No, how do you get to the island on your back?" "Island? Are you going to the island?" The old tortoise was silent for a long time before he said, "It's very easy to go to the island, just listen to its song carefully." After speaking, it closed its eyes again. No life, as if dead. Even the top observation hockey can't achieve the breath-holding effect. This old turtle can just close his eyes and it can be done. Mysterious creatures. Heilong shook his head, but did not leave, but swam and came to the turtle's back. "If you're right, Rahudal, it's the tortoise. It looks like we'll have to investigate first." With that in mind, he acted quickly. Meanwhile, over the island, Chinyong looked very serious. He has walked into a distance of 500 meters, and accordingly, the ethereal singing has become clearer and clearer, as if face to face, someone is playing, and he can even see a story through the singing. Glancing at Nini, who was unconscious next to her, Chinyong slowly descended from the sky. "I didn't expect that Lahudal only had the giant tortoise under his feet, not the island." Stepping on the island safely, Chinyong couldn't help but murmur, "It's enough after listening to the song, isn't it?" Since the giant tortoise said so, he believed it for the time being. Immediately, he sat down cross-legged, closed his eyes, and listened quietly. This time, he didn't hold hostility, completely emptied his mind, and let the singing continue to enter his ears. When he calmed down and listened, Chinyong had to admit that the performer was the sound of nature. From beginning to end, there was no language, but Chinyong could clearly feel the sadness contained in the singing. The player seems to be singing while weeping. In Chinyang's mind, a picture was born naturally. In the middle of a plaza where people worshipped, on a country that was in ruins, the singers opened their arms and sang loudly. And at the end of the sky, there is a golden cross star that fills the sky. It seems to be accumulating power, until at a certain moment, it releases a devastating blow. This picture just flashed by, and then another scene. All kinds of changes continue to emerge and disappear, and as the singing is played, they gradually form a series of stories. After a long time, when Chinyong opened his eyes again, it was already dark. Above the sky is full of stars. "It's been so long." Chinyong murmured softly, "What a powerful person, to be able to develop his ability to such a level, Whitebeard can't even compare." After listening to the song, more than 6 hours passed, and he understood the general situation. Now the singing has disappeared, at least he can't hear it, and other people's words should still be heard. Tianlai 387 Fruit Ability, someone in a huge ancient country 800 years ago. The singing here was left by the capable person 800 years ago. She, or he, used his own voice of nature to express everything that happened that year in the form of singing, until now, 800 years later. This power will not dissipate. Sure enough, it's a boring story, but the last scene is the cross star in the sky. Is that the King of Heaven? Chin Yong looked up at the night sky. Somewhere in this night sky, the Heavenly King, one of the three ancient weapons, should still exist. It was a light that fell from the sky and could destroy an island in an instant. This kind of thing doesn't matter. Chin Yong got up slowly, too lazy to think about what happened 800 years ago, which has nothing to do with him. Compared to this, now that the singing has disappeared, I can safely search for the origin of the world. Thinking like this, he secretly said, Huan, is the source here. I can perceive the existence of the origin of the world. What is it? What shape? Where is it? I don't know. The source has no concept of form. Can you tell where time is? What does time look like? It just exists here. Chin Yong, you can feel it when you are close. Then let's explore slowly. Chin Yong chuckled, picked up Nini, and walked towards the depths of the island. Also, I sensed that someone on the island was Kaido's breath.